So we're going to begin with the refuge and bodhicitta prayer, which is on the screen at the moment. We're going to do that 3 times. We'll chant it twice in the Tibetan and once in the English. So as Laurie said, it is the first page is Ma Mudra lineage prayer, and then you'll see Chenrezi, and if you're looking at the book, and it's the first prayer that we do when we do the Chenrezi sadhana. Everyone got it?
Don't need the copy behind you.
All right, thank you. Sanjay Chudam Soki Choknala Jamju Badu Dakni Chasuchi Dagi Jinso Chipe Sonamgi Adrola Penchir Sanjay Jupasho Sanjay Chodam Soki Joknala Jamju Paduragni Chapsuchi Dagi Jinso Jipe Sonamgi Drola Penchir Sanjay Jupasho. In English. Until I reach enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and the Noble Sangha. Through the merit of accomplishing the 6 perfections, may I achieve awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Now, did you want to do the Ma Mudra lineage prayer in English? We often do it that way.
Okay. At the very beginning, the very first page.
I heard that you like to do it in English, and I certainly am fine with that. The great Vajradhara, Talopa, Naropa, Marvara, Milarepa, Lord of Dharma, Gambopa, knower of the 3 times of omniscient karma, holder of the 4 great and 8 lesser lineages, Drikon, Toklo, Sopa, these 3 glorious Sherpa, and so on, masters of the profound path of Mahamudra, unequal protectors of beings, the Dakpo Kaji. I supplicate you, Lamas, grant your blessings that following your example, I hold your lineage. Detachment is the foot of meditation, as is thought. To this meditator who is not attached to food and wealth, who cuts the ties to this life, grant your blessings that I have no attachment to honor or gain. Devotion is the head of meditation, as is taught. The Guru opens the gate to the treasury of oral instructions. To this meditator who continually supplicates you, grant your blessings that uncontrived devotion is born to pity. Non-distraction is the body of meditation, as is taught. Whatever arises is fresh, the nature of thought. To the meditator who rests simply without altering it, grant your blessings that meditation is free from conception. The nature of thought is dharmakaya, as is taught. Nothing whatsoever it arises as anything. To this meditator for whom all arises as unceasing play, grant your blessings that I realize samsara, unseparable. Through all my births, may I not be separated from the perfect Guru, and so enjoy the splendor of perfecting the qualities of the paths and stages. May I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. All right, thank you, everyone. You're ready.
Thank you. So we're going to talk about self-liberation. And before we talk about self-liberation, I would like to define a few words that we will be using throughout this talk so that we're all in the same page as far as what we mean by those particular words that are being used. So the first one I want to start with is space. So thought processes and emotions are transparent and taking place in the midst of nowhere in space. This is the positive space of skillful means working with everyday life situations. It can only be seen through experiencing the space rather than the product by becoming one with the emotion. What that means is this is the space that we're all sharing right now, this space. And our thought processes and emotions are not really, you don't really see, I don't see your thought processes and emotions. So we don't really see them in the space unless you get angry. Then the emotion, and the more you think about something, the more energy you feed to that thought, which becomes emotion. Emotions are nothing more than thoughts that are charged. So if you're really angry, there's no longer any space in your mind, and you are now disconnected from the space of this room. You're not thinking about what's going on in here. You are totally into the anger and the emotion that you are experiencing. Okay, everybody's got that. So one learns to be aware of the individual space of your experience and the world that you exchange and communicate with. So it's likened to a dance. Now, I don't know about modern dances because everybody kind of looks like they're doing their own thing. But the dances that I'm talking about is something like a waltz or a tango, where there's complete communication between you and your partner. And real communication, communication that is sensitive and compassionate, is when there's an exchange. And so you put something out, and then something comes back. And then something goes out, and something comes back. But if you have something that you are trying to, and you just keep going because your mind is caught in your behavior pattern, then you're not hearing, there's no exchange happening. It's just solid. You're just putting it out. And the other person on the other end can't get anything in to present anything because your mind is already charged. It's already set. Okay. So never losing touch with the surrounding space, never forgetting that communication is a dance back and forth, allows one to maintain proper and complete communication. And the next word is nowness. So the present moment is the only place where we can experience ourselves and our world. The past is gone and we can't change it. And the future exists only in our minds. So this is the only place right here, right now, in this moment. Now. And that's why now is so important. Genuineness. Genuineness is the act of experiencing yourself as you are. It requires honesty and openness. It also challenges one to be skillful in communication, to express oneself with honesty, gentleness, and compassion in order to meet each situation with appropriateness and sensitivity. Ego and egolessness. Ego is the name for all these ideas, images, and feelings we have about who we are or want to be. It's like the example of an actor. If you are completely genuine and honest, you don't need a script. You can be open and spontaneous. Egolessness is the experience of experiencing our life without the reference points of ego. And it means being completely genuine and in the now. Cocoon. Dzogchen Trungpa Rinpoche is my root guru, and he uses the analogy of the warrior. The warrior because it's based on fearlessness, not being afraid to meet yourself. And cocoon is the analogy of when we have habitual patterns and we wrap ourselves up in those habitual patterns so that there's no more choice. A situation arises and you react automatically from your habitual pattern, the ones that we've created, that we keep reinforcing. So we avoid the rawness of our experience because we are afraid. And it's not, when you say afraid, sometimes we think about like, oh, I'm terrified. No, this is being irritated, not wanting to deal with something, turning away, ignoring. That's the fear I'm talking about. You just don't want to deal with the situation. So fear is the first glimpse, and cowardice becomes our habitual response. Emotions. Emotions are an upsurge of energy. What we do with energy when it arises has an effect on our communication. The more we think about a situation, the more energy we feed to the emotions. They need attention to survive. Emotions need attention to survive. The results is an exchange of communication being limited and biased, and the creative potential of communication is completely destroyed. So the point is not necessarily to control our emotions or to try to be good at the same time. There is the possibility that we could be watchful of ourselves and our state of mind. Behavior patterns. So behavior patterns are formed when we want pleasurable experiences, when we avoid painful, irritating situations, and when we become neutral to situations or things and do not pay attention. When the space is not free-flowing but frozen with solid reference points, there is no exchange of communication. What happens at this point is the formation of behavior patterns, the creation of our comfort zones. We fit what we see into comfortable or familiar schemes. We shut out any vastness or possibilities of deeper perception by fixating on our own interpretation of phenomena. Example, are you on automatic or manual transmission? When situations arise, you already have it in your mind. Well, I have to do this right now. I have to do this. So something else arises in the now, in the present moment. Oh no, I'm focused on, I have to do this. So you dismiss the only place where anything real can happen, which is in this moment, in this space, right here, right now. An extreme example that might be that you're a fantastic swimmer and someone is drowning. Oh no, but I have to leave right now. I have a luncheon appointment that I have to be at. Right? So that's an extreme example. I realize that, but there are little things in our life that are like that we're on habit. We're just moving that way. That's it. We can't even consider the possibility of anything else. We see only our own solid version of the world. Perception is very much individualized, centralized on self-consciousness. We are taking everything personally. Ego is being affected. Behavior patterns are connected with physical fatigue, restlessness, irritation over something we don't like, or with tremendous longing, wanting something else to happen. Behavior patterns are like reflexes. When shocked, we react. When attacked, we become defensive. When we feel inadequate, we use our habitual patterns to patch up the problem, or we invent an excuse. So we do not, we protect ourselves so that the other person doesn't really realize that it's not something we want to relate to. So being human, we have an opportunity to experience a glimpse of our primal purity, our Buddha nature. And that experience allows us to appreciate an alternative to being involved with habitual patterns. We are willing to look into our cocoon of habitual patterns of repetitive thoughts, emotions, bodily postures, and gestures. If you can catch yourself when you're doing meditation practice and you catch that you're not with your thought or you're not with your breath, right? You're in the thought, you've been carried away. And you can catch your body position at that point in time, you will find that every time you have that thought, you take that bodily position. And it's good to check yourselves when you're doing sitting meditation or whatever. Feel your body. Where is it tight? Where is you go through your body and relax things. Because many times, even our face, our facial features, I think sometimes when we see pictures of being old, and I'm thinking of myself, old now, that your body, based on that mental idea of how you relate to the world and how you relate to things in general, your face actually takes that. So you see some people that are very old and they look scowling. And that's their approach. You'll find that when you actually get to know them, most of their time is. So it's important to recognize, to catch ourselves so that we can not only relax, but that we don't solidify that into some physical form. So, and that also applies to other things. When other situations arise, you'll find if you check your body out, your body's in a little way. So, not turning away from these habitual patterns of the cocoon is fearlessness. In other words, you have to literally not agree not to be inconvenienced. It's not that you're not feeling irritable, but recognize the irritability and then open to what the space is telling you or that you need to relate to. So you are not on the side of success or failure. Success and failure are our journey. Without success and failure, we have no journey. It's those irritating moments in life that are dictating to us, that are showing us where we have to work. Those are the ones that we need to look at. So we're talking about self-liberation. So we need to look at what the ground of self is. So the ground of self is personal experience, obstacles, seductions, paranoia, depressions, openness. There is no environment other than your thoughts. There is no environment other than your thoughts. In our practice of meditation, our problems are our only working basis. Without our problems, we have no working basis. We have no path. So in the Dzogchen view, human nature is grounded in the idea that a person is already perfect, but fails to recognize the inherent perfection within oneself. That is why it is called the path of self-liberation. The Dzogchen view is of no view. It's a trans view. It's a view that allows one to be free from all kinds of fixations and views. It looks at the human condition objectively with a non-biased attitude. It overcomes all views, biases, prejudices, and dogmatism. It does not hold on to concepts rigidly, making them concrete and consolidating them. Mind is not contained. It is an expansive outlook. A wider horizon is always present. We are in the mode of being. And the example many times in Buddhism is given of the ocean and waves. So if we look at our Buddha nature, our primal purity, whatever you want to call it, our energy, our basic essence, what we have is on the top, we have thoughts and emotion. Those are the waves, right? So when you think about it, the waves on the top don't affect the bottom of the ocean. And that is the path to enlightenment. Because once we begin to recognize, once we recognize what Lama Losang was talking about, that space between thoughts, that space when you are just there, there's no thinking, you're just there. And that's the problem because it's so mundane, we don't recognize it. But just that open space, not in thoughts, but the middle between the thoughts, that space of nothing, but awareness, not asleep, but awake, aware. That space is enlightenment. So once we train our minds, because we have a habit of, oh, you have on an orange shirt. Oh, let me see. Well, that looks a lot like the dress that my daughter had when she was going to but we have to go shopping in order to be able to do that. Well, I don't know. Where shall we go shopping? Let me see, So it's like, that's what they called monkey mind. Someone mentioned it back in here. When you talk about monkey mind, that's what the Tibetans are referring to, is where you're leaping and jumping from one thing to another. This comes up and you're there. So in order to create the stability of mind that allows you to recognize the view, the ocean, so that now what we're doing is we're with the ocean and we can stay with the ocean, and yet a thought can arise and we can recognize that there is a thought there, but we haven't left the space. We're still right here, totally cognizant with this space. But there is a thought arising, but it's never leaving the space, always staying with the view, with the ocean. No. So the role of meditation in Dzogchen meditation is practiced in order to bring forth what is latent or hidden in our subconscious or our unconscious. It is used to bring forth what is already there. These emotions, prejudices, attitudes, and disturbances have a direct or indirect effect on our lives. Being able to relate to others is difficult if we can't relate to ourselves. So as long as one is right there in the presence of one's emotional state, then one is in a meditative state. Mental events and activities need to be assimilated rather than pushed aside, judged, or proliferated. Meditation is related to not getting distracted and becoming vulnerable and subjected to states of mind of depression and elation. Whatever we experience is part of meditation. It does not matter if the mind is disturbed or at ease. Both of these states of mind are part of the meditative experience. Awareness, Rigpa. Now, sometimes they talk about mind awareness. When they talk about mind awareness, they're talking about SEM, S-E-M, as opposed to Rigpa, which means awareness, which is enlightened awareness. Awareness, Rigpa, can cut through thoughts. It can't be broken, harmed, or disturbed by thoughts. We're back to the ocean. The ocean is not disturbed by the thoughts or the emotion. The ocean remains the ocean. The nature of mind is compared to the middle of space. While it is empty like space, it has clarity and knowing, unlike physical space, which does not know anything. As we learn to let go of grasping and fixation, being caught in thoughts and emotions, we take down and we bring down our awareness so that we do not have full awareness. So the more we can put our attention to practicing, coming back to the breath, coming back to the openness, coming back to the space, to the now, then we have greater and greater awareness. As long as we're caught up there, our awareness of the view of the ocean is limited. So Sakya Pandita, quote, in between two thoughts, an unbroken continuity of clear luminosity. In between two thoughts, one thought has ended before the next thought begins. In between, continuity of clear luminosity. And that's why I say we miss it, because we think, oh, clear luminosity, something bright and brilliant. Clear luminosity is just the openness in space. Just that, coming back to your breath, right there. Clear luminosity has a knowing quality. It's not like it's dumb, it doesn't recognize anything. It's completely your wisdom. There, right there in space. So this is Chogyam Trikchen Rinpoche, 1920, he died in 2007. He was a great Sakya master. He was the personal, one of the personal teachers of the Dalai Lama and also the 41st Sakya Treason. He was an amazing poet and so on. So what he says is, quote, when the last thought has passed, but the next thought has not yet arisen, there is a gap. A thought-free state, while this state is free of thought, it is not a blank, unknowing state. There is a knowing aspect that experiences everything. When this is recognized in the thought-free state, it is in reality an unbroken continuity of clear luminosity. Once recognized, this continuity of clear luminosity is quickly lost to us, although it always remains. It is lost as we again fall out of the thought-free state and become involved in thinking. So we must apply the meaning of Sakya Pandita's words again and again. We return to the state between two thoughts, coming back to the breath, recognizing the empty essence of our mind. This thought-free state must be entered without any grasping or clinging to the experience of emptiness. That last statement must be entered without any grasping or clinging to the experience of emptiness is so important. Because what happened, I'm going to keep that state. Who is keeping that state? Ego is keeping that state. Oh, I've got this under control. Oh, I had such a great meditation. I was there the whole time. So it's just recognizing, just nothing. Don't do anything. I remember a conference with His Holiness the 16th Karmapa, and Jamgon Khantrul III was there at the time, and he was sitting next to him. I don't even remember now what the question I had that I gave to His Holiness, And Jamgon Khantrul, without His Holiness even saying anything, said to me, don't do anything. He said it 3 times, don't do anything. And that, I thought about it later when I got out, and I thought to myself, but it's true, because we're always trying to do something in our minds with something that comes in, right? Interpreting it, evaluating, don't do anything. Just be open. Just recognize. So the quality of empty knowing without grasping, I'm continuing on now. Sorry, I interrupted Chogyam Trikchen here. So the quality of empty knowing without grasping that remains within the thought-free state needs only to be recognized. Now we must remain with this recognition and not allow ourselves to be distracted by thoughts. When we have become distracted, we again apply the meaning of Sakya Pandita's words. Whatever thought or feeling arises, we must again look into our mind and recognize emptiness. The thought vanishes in the recognition of emptiness. This is a key point of continuing in the practice. This is how we learn to recognize and begin the practice of sustaining the view. This is the meaning of the practice of view according to the Sakya tradition. It's also the meaning of the great perfection, Dzogchen, and the great seal, Mahamudra, Chajachenpo. So the practice of sustaining the view requires a special kind of diligence. In the beginning, our recognition of emptiness does not last very long because we are quickly distracted and become involved in dualistic thinking. If we do not notice this, we will not return to the view. So we need diligence in attentive presence. Without this special kind of diligence, the view will not be sustained. Attentive presence is a combination of mindfulness and watchfulness. Mindfulness means to remember the essence of our mind, which is emptiness. The clarity aspect of our mind also continues to function by knowing what is going on around us and within our mind. So here you have shamatha, mindfulness, and then knowing what's going on around you, vipassana. So there's your shamatha and your vipassana principles right there. As a function of our clarity, watchfulness notices what is taking place. And so notices when we are distracted or become involved in thoughts. Then once we have noticed that we have lost mindfulness of the essence, the ocean, once again, mindfulness returns us to the essence of our mind. Now we can understand the meaning of the quality of attentive presence necessary for sustaining the view. It is the key point in which to be diligent in our practice of sustaining the continuity of the view. To return to the gap between thoughts, the empty essence of our mind is the aspect of calm abiding, shanay, shamatha. To recognize the clear luminosity, which has the quality of thought-free, empty knowing without grasping, is the aspect of clear insight, vipassana, laton. So action. Engaging in meditation, we discover how we normally perceive the external world, which is predominantly constructed by our mind, due to our concepts, ideas, and conceptual categorization of all kinds. Normally, what we perceive and experience is just a construction of our own mind. It is simply the way things appear to us personally, and if we let our mind be without conceptual categorization of our perceptions, we allow ourselves the opportunity to experience the way things are. Let mind simply be, and not block or indulge in our perceptions, but simply being present with what we are experiencing. I like to use the example of you've been invited. There's a new restaurant in town, and it's an ethnic restaurant, and you are not familiar with their foods. So it's a buffet table, and you're going through, picking out what you want to eat. You will always move towards the familiar. If anything looks like something you've decided you don't like, you will bypass that. You will not taste it. Even though you've never tasted it before, you will just not look at that. You will just pick out the things. And if you see something familiar, you'll run there and take more of that probably. So, and that's how we are with everything. Kempo Kartar told me that once. We always move towards the familiar. So So there is no need to renounce, purify, or transform anything. One is simply trying to understand how things are and how they exist as they are. It is not a process of rectification in order to gain spiritual awakening. It does not matter whatever dramatic emotional upheaval you are experiencing. What is important is to remain with whatever state of mind appears, calm or agitated. Agitation is not regarded as regression, but as part of the process itself. One is not cultivating or discarding a particular state of mind. There is no difference whether the mind is at rest or active and agitated. This is referred to in Buddhism as one-pointedness. Our practice should be effortless. We should avoid trying too hard and getting too worked up. There are two types of mental states, rest and movement. Simply sit and be aware, rest with your thoughts. To confront what arises in the mind openly is a heroic approach. How many times do things arise that we don't want to look at and we quickly change the subject, move out of something else? So a quote from Chaleg Kyabgyong Rinpoche, quote, "We should practice non-discriminative yoga because when we do not discriminate, we allow experiences to arise rather than creating our experiences habitually," unquote. I'm going to go back to the example of the foreign foods right at the buffet. The ultimate aim is to be fully present at all times. And then there's this just wonderful little essay. I don't know if you're all familiar with Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche. Do they know Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche? They do? Good.
They do.
So he wrote this on the void nature of thoughts. What we normally call the mind is the deluded mind, a turbulent vortex of thoughts whipped up by attachment, anger, and ignorance. This mind, unlike enlightened awareness, is always being carried away by one delusion after another. Thoughts of hatred or attachment suddenly arise without warning, triggered by such circumstances as an unexpected meeting with an enemy or a friend. And unless they are immediately overpowered with the proper antidote, which is just awareness, recognizing it, they quickly take root and proliferate, reinforcing the habitual predominance of hatred or attachment in the mind and adding more and more karmic patterns. Yet, however strong these thoughts may seem, they are just thoughts and will eventually dissolve back into emptiness, back into the ocean. Once you recognize the intrinsic nature of the mind, these thoughts that seem to appear and disappear all the time can no longer fool you. Just as clouds form, last for a while, and then dissolve back into the empty sky, so deluded thoughts arise, remain for a while, and then vanish into the voidness of mind. In reality, nothing at all has happened. When sunlight falls on a crystal, lights of all colors of the rainbow appear, yet they have no substance that you can grasp. Likewise, all thoughts in their infinite variety, devotion, compassion, harmfulness, desire, are utterly without substance. There is no thought that is something other than voidness. If you recognize the void nature of thoughts at the very moment they arise, they will dissolve. Attachment and hatred will never be able to disturb the mind. Deluded emotions will collapse by themselves. No negative actions will be accumulated, so no suffering will follow. I think of an instance where one of my daughters was having, I don't even remember now the reason for her being so upset, but she was just furious. She goes in her, I don't want to have anything to do with anybody anymore. Slam goes the door. And then about 10 minutes later, I knock on the door. Oh, is Rachel here? I would like to be able to talk with her, one of her best friends. I said, oh, sure. Rachel, what? So-and-so is here to see you. Oh, hi. How are you? What? So all of that anger and everything that had been all built up within seconds dissolved completely into the possibility of something else happening with her friend and enjoying that exchange. So in conclusion, if we understand how emotions operate and manifest and gain deeper understanding of ourselves, we can just simply be what we already are, and emotions themselves are self-liberated. Concepts and emotions are intimately related. Once one is able to integrate subject and object, overcome dualities of good and bad, etc., there is nothing else to be done. It is Dzogchen, completely fulfilled. Conceptualizations are overcome, layers of concepts are removed, Rigpa is exposed, the nature of mind is revealed, our basic goodness manifests, Buddha nature, and so forth. So meditation and non-meditation are transcended, dissolved. The difference. So this afternoon, is it too early for lunch? It might be. We'll take questions and then we'll see. So this afternoon, what I'd like to talk about the path. How do we undo confusion, behavior patterns? How do we use our practice and our life to begin to undo these patterns that we have? So that's what I'd like to talk about this afternoon. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
What you're talking about is kind of a complete reworking of how we handle our mind.
Yes.
You know, as you know, growing up a non-Buddhist, I mean, I wasn't exposed to any, any of the things you're talking about.
Neither was I.
Okay, so there's hope. So, but that is what you're talking about.
Yes. Yes. But it's difficult to do because unless you realize that space, the ocean, unless you have a glimpse of that. I thought a lot about giving this talk today because so much of these teachings have been kept secret for a long generations, hundreds of years. They were revealed by Padmasambhava. And he hid them and said, okay, but this is the time these teachings need to come out because most of us don't have time. We're so busy in our lives with what we're doing. And you just look around the world and what's happening. All of the destruction and the confusion and the pain and the suffering. And we need something that we can do formally and informally as we're moving about through the world. And this will take 24/7. There'll be no vacation. Once you do this and you start relating to it, you begin to become aware of everything that's arising in you. And you start to look at, whoa, where did that come from? Oh, I see now why I'm doing that, saying that, acting that, da 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 da. So you begins to become revealed to you your habitual patterns, your basic nature, and so on. Then you have to decide whether you want to undo them or not. And then we go back to what they call the three lords of materialism, right? Where you have fame, wealth, and power. If that's your major objective in your life, that's your primary objective. And you don't care about this. You just care about what's going to get you those things. And whatever you think is going to move towards that direction, more money, more wealth, more fame, fame, wealth, and
Oh,
yes. So that's why I remember being in 3-year retreat and Kempo Kartar was saying to me, there's probably only less than 99% of the people are interested in what we're doing. Because it means that you've already seen through those other things. And now you're working with yourself, your mind. And that's why we have the shrine. The shrine isn't something that you, like in the Christian religion where it's God. And so what it is reverence to all those warriors, those people, those meditators who managed to maintain the lineage from generation to generation. What do we have, 900 of them now?
600 years of
Yeah.
Kamapas.
From Karmapa, but then again, also from the Buddha.
Yeah. Oh, 2,600 years.
Yeah. So this is a tribute. I don't know what the right word is. That's probably not the right word, but it's like an honoring of those people, because look at ourselves. Are we going to make the commitment to do what we need to do to achieve this kind of existence? And then so you have a tremendous gratitude to these people who dedicated their lives to bringing forth and maintaining these. I remember in 3-year retreat, if we did anything to change anything, people became angry because this works, right? Now, can I be so prideful that I would think that I could do something else that's going to work with these? This is coming down. One dumb. You know what I mean? It's not that you don't think about it, but you realize it. You take it in. It's like somebody teaching you swimming. This is how you do it, So, did I answer your question?
I think you did. It was definitely in there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Someone here had a question?
I did.
Yes.
Uh, the space between thoughts and I guess the substrate underneath thoughts, and maybe the levels of consciousness that we encounter when we're dreaming or sleeping.
Could you speak just a little louder? I think I have a little bit of a hearing problem.
So the in between thoughts, the space that you referred to, and I imagine similar to what we encounter when we're dreaming and in dreamless sleep, and maybe even dying as well. Developing an awareness in those spaces, is it so if I'm trying to do that, and am I,
If you're trying to do that, and I'm understanding that to be maintaining your awareness when you're dreaming
yes,
and
in between, even in between those thoughts, and the very instantaneous, time that it takes, is it as acute as the awareness that I have, like right now talking to you, or is it something, more subtle, like is it maybe incorrect to like expect the experience of that awareness to be as acute as this is, or is it?
I'm going to give you my own opinion about this. Now, nobody
Yes.
has ever answered the question that you're asking me that I'm aware of, so I'm going to tell you what I think. I think that when you meet people and you talk to people, if you're open, in other words, if you're aware, you're not trying to get your stuff in, that there's openness there, you're listening to what it is that they're saying, then you can feel the energy in that space. There's something that kind of underscores whatever it is they're saying, because you feel the underneath of that, the genuineness of that. And that's what, if you're open and you have an exchange, we talked about the dance going back and forth, right? Then you have that, and that's what makes it. Now, as far as dreaming, when you're dreaming, it's good if you start off the night before you start to dream and say to yourself, I'm just some way, I'm going to be awake tonight through my dreams. You have that motivation. And then what will happen is when you are dreaming, you know that you're dreaming, like somehow or other, you just know it's a dream. And if you get to that point where you know it's a dream, then you can do things with that dream. Like you can multiply yourself, or you can make things happen in the dream, and so on. But it's all illusory. It's all illusory. You know, it's just like, and we'll get into that this afternoon. It's like if you have an argument with someone, and it was really nasty argument, and now you're by yourself, and then you see them walking towards you. Are you able to open to that space without the angry feelings you had coming into it and coloring that space and the exchange that you have with them? Can you just let that be back there? Or are you going to bring it in? Can you relate to them from that? That's when you know you have some sense of being free to have an exchange. Because every situation, every person is different at every time. I mean, we can all change in every second, like my daughter banging the door, you know, and then the next second it's gone. So you have to, it's like, I remember Trungpa Rinpoche saying one time, when you first start out on this journey, what happens is that you're upset and you're trying to undo these patterns, right? And so you see the situation coming towards you and you start to panic a little bit because you know you're going to have to relate to it. And then at some point, when you do that enough times, you see the situation coming towards you, and all of a sudden it's like, ah, here comes something. And that's exactly how he looked at us and looked at his life. You never knew. That smile was nothing. You had no idea what that meant. And so it's like, you're going to be enriched, or you're going to perfect your art. You know, you're going to really, but it's very difficult in the beginning because habit. We have to create the habit of being with it. It doesn't matter if you're shivering and shaking in your spot. It doesn't matter. Just hold your spot. You don't have to do anything else. Just face the fear. That's all. And then gradually, you know, sometimes we think, oh, I know this area. I know this subject. I'm an expert in this. Okay. And you tell me something that's completely different from what I know. So all of a sudden, as you're talking, if I'm open, I begin to hear something maybe I hadn't heard before. Ah, well, I haven't tried that. Well, let me see. And it also relaxes you because you don't have to be so defensive. You don't have to prove my point. You know. Did I answer your question? Not really, did I?
Well.
Can I jump in
yes
for a
and
moment?
no.
Larson, if I understand your question, there's no duality. And she was talking about the ocean. Active, mind at ease. It's all the same awareness for those who have achieved a certain level of calm. And so I was hearing your question as, is there a difference between those moments in between and what's going on right now? No. There's no duality if we have the clarity of mind. Resting mind, active mind. Same thing.
I hope he answered your question. Did he answer your question?
You both did,
Oh, good.
yeah,
Okay.
because, also, that's great, and also what you're saying.
Thank you.
There's something underneath the words and the stories that you're conveying also. Yeah.
I'd like to ask the question you both just answered. So, you talked about, the pause, or the interval between thoughts. It's very brief, and then I've heard Rinpoche talk about there's a pause between breaths when you're exhaling and inhaling. And I'd like to know if there's a way to extend that, because that's such a micro moment. And
Actually, there's a teaching that, as it is, pauses and gaps are very important, especially when you're refraining. Just to stop and not conceptually to think about it conceptually, but to feel the energy of that and then respond. And I also find that with pauses and gaps, what you have is the synchronization of body, speech, and mind. If you're moving too fast, you're all over the place. Bring it all together. One place that's really evident is in walking meditation. Because in walking meditation, I'm going, but if you're, feeling heel, toe, swing, heel, toe, swing, you find that you can't move sometimes as fast as you want to without the body and the mind being behind there. You're just, so bringing it all together. I like football, especially the NFL. And this is Sunday and I'm missing all those games. Oh my goodness. Anyway, when they interview, usually not so much the coaches, but the players, like I was thinking of the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahoney. Oh, Mahoney, yeah. And so they're asking just at halftime, they're going in for halftime and they stop them, oh, what do you think about da 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 da, and well, I'm going, whoa, slow down a little bit here, it's like, and so but anyway, that so body, speech, and mind. And I also find now that newscasters, journalists, when they interview them, sometimes are going so fast that it would be nice if they just slowed down a little bit, so you could kind of feel the tempo of what's being said, not just like.
Patrick Mahomes, actually, he said that he does that thing. He says it means nothing to him. He says he does that to stay focused on the game. Like he was on a talk show and they said, he goes, ask me a question, and he did that player speak and it meant nothing to him. It's sort of like this white noise that he keeps so he can focus on the
Body, speech, and mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes?
So I slept quite well last night, and when I woke up, I asked my wife, did you sleep well? She said, no. Oh, yeah, I was just doing all this thinking, and so I said, a little later, I said, well, there's all this thinking you're doing is costing you sleep. Is that productive? I mean, we are planning a trip to California, we're moving to California.
Mm.
So there is a lot of planning, and she is a great planner, and so I'm grateful for that. But does that actually help you with this move, all that thinking? No, it doesn't, but I have no choice. I said, and I refrain from being the teacher, this the knowledgeable one. I said, it was a choice. Yes, there is. No, I said, you have a choice. And that's all I'm saying.
Did it work?
We'll find out. Well, here's something.
I would say, let's take a nice hot bath together.
Say it, please say it again. What, I didn't think you said.
Bath, a nice hot bath, like a sauna, where you just.
Yeah.
Your approach, I'm curious to find out whether, I mean, it could very well work. You know, you know each other, right?
The thing that is quite remarkable is, and we're moving to Sacramento, California, and the Lion's Roar is a Dzogchen,
I know all about it. I was going to
It's a
mention
gift.
that this afternoon.
oh, okay, yeah, and I've been to, a wonderful, teaching there with, well, Yeshe Jingpa. And my wife, out of the blue, says, you know, when we move to Sacramento, I think I wanna check out the Lions Roar there. Because here, she checked it out, but she was put off, she's Dutch, and the English is a little problematic for her sometimes. The Tibetan is out of reach, you know,
Yeah.
so, it kind of turned her off. This wasn't her time, she wasn't ready, but she has changed, she's seen the incredible change in me in 6.5 years of coming here, and that speaks a lot louder than anything. I've expressed.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we'll
Also,
see,
The Lion's Roar is in the third point of the four foundations of mindfulness. It's actually the first thing they talk about. And what they talk about, the Lion's Roar is being willing to recognize anything that arises in your state of mind. That's the Lion's Roar. Yeah. Yes?
We're just taking a bath. How would it relate to my wife? You know, that's the question.
Together, she said take a bath together.
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah.
yeah.
You guys do it, not
That's kind of a Zen answer.
Well, I'm just thinking,
We're trying to help make a point. You're just being sure that they stay.
no, I was thinking personally, what I was thinking, if I said that, sometimes, I'm gonna say, oh, I'm gonna pop out now and say, oh, my old age and thinking, you know. But what I was thinking of before I go to bed, I don't do this really, I can't even remember the last time I did this, but I was just thinking that just sitting in a hot tub with warm water, you know, because water seems to be a wonderful, I don't know, it just kind of soothes you. And when you get into even a hot shower, you get in, you say, this feels so good. You know, that usually that relaxes you to a point where maybe you don't have all of the energy of thinking and having to plan, because that's, you know, it does, it builds up and it's going, you know, that's what I was thinking. I don't know where you all people were coming from here. Oh, I'm so bad. Oh. Okay, did that answer your question? See, they just disappear in the void, they just go into the ocean.
That's such a solution, actually. I can't, you said, twice, you know. Oh, why for listening, you know, you're gonna be,
Yeah.
what your bath is gonna do,
Mhm,
during the subject.
I see.
Yeah.
Any other question?
I think about the process, of what you're talking about with the mind internally. And so it's been a real joy coming here, and I've been here for about a year and a half, or a year and 3/4. And you know, it's kind of like I move a little in this direction, which I would like to go. And then, you know, a couple days into the week, you know, I'm kind of back. You know, and it's a continue, Buddhism seems to be like a continual push in the right direction. And I'm, you know, hopefully I'm not slipping all the way back every week. And, but I'm just wondering about the process of it. So, you know, a year, a month, 5 lifetimes, you know, that type of thing.
Depends on the individual completely and their karma. Depends on how willing you are to, or your commitment and discipline. But what I'm going to talk about this afternoon is this isn't something you just sit on your cushion and you do the breath, okay, then ring the bell and it's over. No. Once you connect, and it becomes kind of a confidence thing. And it's not that you're relating for a group of people. Oh yeah, go on now. We're rooting for you. Go for it. You know, this is a completely lonely, personal journey. And it's not when you get off that cushion or that chair. It's that once you start paying attention to what's happening and where your awareness is with every situation, sometimes you catch it, sometimes you don't. And so, but it's a continual process and it takes time. It's undoing. If you think about brushing your teeth with the right hand, and now all of a sudden you can't use your right hand to brush your teeth. Now you have to use the left hand. So it's undoing and then creating a new pattern. But while you're undoing, you are creating the new pattern. Because it's just like if you learn to come back to the breath during your meditation process, right? And then you get distracted and then you realize you're distracted. So you come back. That's the discipline. Being willing to come back. If you're not willing to come back, you want to stay with the thought or whatever it is, then that's not going to do anything. You have to, because you're training your mind. Every time you come back, you've trained your mind to come back. And then it's interesting because I love Dzogchen Khyentse Rinpoche. He's probably the one teacher that resembles my teacher for being completely outrageous. And he once gave an instruction to his students. He said, if you don't want to meditate, okay, but throughout the day, whenever you think about it, just look at what you're thinking. In other words, look at your mind. What's going on in your mind? And do it as often as you can. Every time you can think about it, go back and think about what's, look at what's happening in your mind. The same thing as meditation practice. When you think about it, right? Come back to the breath. You look at your mind. And at some point, you begin to recognize thoughts for what they are. This is a thought. And you'll also find that as you had thinking of jealousy, great one, that you're in a situation and you have a partner. And then you see, because you know them so well, a little attraction to this other person. And then immediate, you can catch it. It's like, oh. And then you recognize it for what it is, just like Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche said. Once you recognize it, the sooner you can recognize it, you can apply the antidote, he said. But the antidote is recognizing that it's a thought. And then if you have enough compassion and generosity, you allow things to be what they are, whatever they are. You're not trying to hold on and make it something. And you can't do that anyway. Maybe while you're there, but then again, we'll get into that where you're really violating your agreement with the phenomenal world. I'm going to make it like this. I'm going to make it happen like that. I'm not going to let this happen.
Who did you say was that as outrageous as Trump was?
Dzogchen Khyentse Rinpoche.
Okay,
Do you know him?
maybe. I probably run across him.
Oh, if you go online, there's all kinds, but he's
I like outrageous, that's what I was.
well, he is outrageous.
You'll fill the bill.
Yeah.
He's outrageous. But my teacher was also outrageous. And so I just did what they call the Kalapa conference. I haven't been really because I with my school and then I moved to Florida with my daughter and all of that stuff happening. And so I haven't really, so I did this one online and I was amazed that there was this split in the Shambhala Sangha still going on today. Like, what is that? And it's like, And then you can't, and I was very happy to see online that they didn't try to hide anything. When they gave the history of what it was, they stated exactly what it was. And I was so happy to see that, because you just get tired after a while. But with my teacher, you never knew, ever knew, no matter who you were, you never knew what he was going to do in that moment, ever. And so you were always kind of like, and they talk about that. I remember one of the teachers, I think it was Sokni Rinpoche, who was saying that in his country, they have yaks, but we have cows. And he was complaining that the cows are so stupid. Because in his country, the yaks are like all the time, right? So that's what he was used to. And then he says the other. So, but and I don't know, nice to think about my teacher. I think about him all the time. But
Could you spell Kinsey so that I can look this?
Yeah, I want to make sure I get this right.
I'm sorry?
Could you spell the name of the teacher Kinsey Rinpoche? So that I can look.
The outrageous one.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's D as in David, Z as in zebra, ONGSAR. Kensei, KHYENTSE. I met him actually when he was 20 because Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche came to Rocky Mountain Shambhala Center. It's now called Drawla Center. And he was only 20 at the time. That shows you how old I am. Because now he looks like an old man. So and he came with Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, who basically was his major teacher, who trained him. And he is the incarnation of when they did three Jambon Control and the Shirtan and yeah, and do you remember, is it Wangmo, Tensei Wangmo, I believe he's the incarnation, who was one of the three people. There was a Turton, His Holiness Karmapa, and this Kensei Wangpo.
Okay.
I think it's Kensei Wangpo. And they basically went around to all of Tibet, gathered all of the teachings because they realized that they were being lost. Learned to practice all of the teachings that they collected and then kept them in, and so these three were the Rime movement, I think it's called. RIME, the Rime movement. And it's because of them that we have, these wonderful teachers and these teachings now as well. So, okay, is that it? Is there any more?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So what do we do now?
Well, let's see, Laurie?
Well, yeah, we have our lunch. I was just gonna say, I was really struck by your example of the buffet. Because that really hit home. Like, I have this idea that I'm so open-minded, but that example was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna totally go to what's familiar and like. So it kind of cut through some of my ideas of my identity and my ego.
In my school, which was a small school in Nova Scotia, I would take my students twice a year in the beginning and the end of the year, and we'd go away to Camp Mushamush for 3 or 4 days at each end. In fact, they actually raised money so we could go an extra day, and my teachers were like, oh no, we have 4 days instead of just 3 days that we have to be, So, but I would do that. I was the head cook, and I would always make something they had never seen before. And the rule was you must taste it. You cannot decide by looking at it. You must taste it and then decide whether or not you will eat it, or you like it, or you don't like it, or whatever. And they knew that was the rule, and they discovered a lot of things. It was good. It was good. We had a lot of fun.
What age group for this?
Senior high, junior, senior high. Wonderful group.
Somebody wants to hurt me and try tongue. It still tastes tongue.
Yeah.
It still tastes terrible.
No, I know. My father was in the restaurant business, and he would bring home things and he wouldn't tell us what they were until after we tasted them. So we had frog legs and that. But I remember being at a restaurant one time where they served a salad, and I took the salad and I didn't, and all of a sudden I was eating something and it was something I'd never tasted before. And I couldn't figure out, so I started looking. Turned out to be octopus. It was very tasty, but I won't eat, different thing now. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. That's a great segue into our lunchtime. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. We need to go into it open-minded. So, we have a little bit longer break than we'd expect.
Well, not this time. There are exceptions to the rule.
Would you like me to open create to start the second session?
Yes.
What would you like?
You're talking about even phrases?
Would you like me to pull up like a refuge prayer or anything like that to start the second session?
That would be fine. Okay. We need somebody to lead it.
We have a leader.
Right.
Refuge prayer and bodhicitta. So we'll do it in the same way we did it the first time. We'll do it twice in the Tibetan and once in the English. I think some of you like to chant it in the Tibetan. Unfortunately, we don't really have the music for the English part of it. Sanjay Chudam Soki Choknanda Janchu Pardu Dapni Japsuchi Dagi Jinso Jipe Sonamgi Drola Pinchir Sanjay Idrupasho Sanjay Chudam Soki Choknana Jamju Bardu Dagni Japsuchi Dagi Jinso Jipe Sonamgi Nadrola Penchir Sanjay Druparsho. Until I reach enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit of accomplishing the six perfections, may I achieve awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings.
So this afternoon, I would like to talk about how to undo confusion, behavior patterns. How do we work with that in our lives and in everyday situation? In the Buddhist tradition, we have the methods of sitting meditation and post-meditation practices. And so in sitting meditation practice, one uses the techniques of shamatha, calm abiding, and vipassana, awareness, insight meditation. So the object is to be wakeful with a very light touch, a balance of precision with a sense of freedom. Establish a connection with your seat, very important. Posture, breath, and labeling technique. If you do not have good posture, this puts all of your physical elements in alignment. It also helps your meditation because you will find, as I said before, that if your body's in a certain way, you have a tendency to produce that same kind of thought. So you really help yourself by having posture, but it must not be tight posture. It should be relaxed. And you should go through your body periodically as you're meditating and unloosen the things that have tightened. So, and the labeling technique, I don't know, usually the initial technique is to label you do the out breath and you dissolve into the space. And then when a thought arises, the labeling technique is to say thinking, and it cuts the thought and you come back to the breath. Now that is not true. I don't know what instructions you have been given with respect to that. Those were instructions that I had, but there are many different kinds of instructions that you can have that do the same thing. And then at some point, it's good to have a meditation instructor because that process of cutting, coming back to the breath, and then what happens is that by itself organically becomes something else where you have to loosen up a little bit further. You might rise, the eye gaze may come up and so forth. So it's not forever, that particular starting situation. So you want to keep that in mind. And if you have a meditation instructor, that's good because then at some point they can say, okay, they can hear what you're saying. And then you might be given other instructions at that point in time. And for certain practices, you do certain things. It's not all exactly the same. Raise the eye gaze and have a sense of the whole environment with the breath happening within that space. Let your awareness go out with the breath 360 degrees and fill the space. Let experiences come and go. Within boredom, we can watch our various mental habits play themselves out. Boredom is so important because your mind has a tendency to go with everything that arises. You hear a sound and it goes there, and then and it goes everywhere. So it's really important to be bored. In the Japanese or Zen tradition, they sit in front of a blank wall. In the Buddhist, you look out and you have color and you have deities and whatever, but all of those images bring you back, have a reference to meditation. Where I'm working in a gallery and I'm doing meditation practice and they do sitting, the images are not all bringing them back to practice. They're bringing them back all over the place to all different kinds of thoughts and feelings and emotions. So boredom is really necessary. Boredom is really necessary. There's, if you do something called a Dzogchen, the Shambhala community does that, which is a 30-day sitting. You go and you have breakfast and then you start practice about 8 or 9 and then you go until lunchtime and then there's like an hour and a half where you have lunch, a little work period, then you go back to sitting, then you have tea break for half an hour, then you have dinner, then you go back into the shrine room and then you finish around 10 o'clock at night. And what happens then is that you're so bored that thoughts that start to arise, at one point, you just want to kill the thought. You don't want to have that thought not one more time coming up. You've already seen it so many times. That's it. You've had it with that. But it's important to have that practice of coming back no matter what it is that arises. So one takes a non-judgmental attitude of exploration toward the qualities of feelings. You're not saying, oh, I feel this, la, da, da, you know. It's non-judgmental. That's what it is. It's that feeling. Okay, back to your breath. We must move on, recognize and let go, dissolve. Sitting practice of 1 hour per day, if possible, is recommended, or at least 3 times a week. And consistency is important because after a while, you have to start all over again. If you don't do it for a while, you have to start all over again. So it's important. And when you do it, if you could possibly have a place in your house, even if it's the size of a closet, where you have your little station set up, that's important. It's like, oh, when you get older and you do a lot of meditation, you so look forward to it. You can just sit and have nothing else that you have to do. You can just be. So mindfulness practice is a way of returning to the simplicity of the breath, to the present moment of now, to experiencing our genuineness. Here now is the only way we can actually experience our lives fully, grow and develop, and become warriors by holding our seat of discomfort, insecurity, whatever, and begin to relate directly with our energy, with our lives. Otherwise, we spend our lives fleeing, pretending, ignoring. We cheat ourselves from living fully. You cannot relive the moment. It is in the past. But you can live this moment and be in the now. We begin to develop allegiance to our basic goodness, to the fullness of our life's experience, feeling the texture and space of our existence. In meditation, you are neither for or against your experience. You don't praise some thoughts and condemn others. It's an unbiased approach. There are no good or bad thoughts. They are thoughts. You express your existence directly, non-conceptually, not for or against you. You are willing to be awake in whatever situation presents itself. A problem arises only if you try to manipulate a situation to your advantage or ignore it. Then you are violating your relationship of trust with the phenomenal world. You might want to think about that. When I first read that, I thought, oh, but it's true. In the process of losing awareness, you regain it because of the process of losing it. Slipping in itself corrects itself. This is called echo, to come back to reality. So I talked about earlier a little bit about the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And this is the 3rd one. This is effort mindfulness. So anything that occurs in samsaric mind is regarded as path. Everything is workable. That's the lion's roar that we identified earlier. Recognize that working with emotions is the path to awakening. And unshakable confidence comes from the experience. Others are also affected. The practice of refraining requires a mindful gap before we speak or act. We try to connect to its energy directly and intimately, know its essence, not just with conceptual mind. We come to experience it as a form of wakeful energy, and it loses its power to disturb us. This is a direct path to enlightenment. The 4th foundation of mindfulness, mind mindfulness. It is being watchful rather than watching something. It is intelligent alertness rather than the mechanical business of simply observing what happens. There is a sense of light-handedness. Rinpoche once gave the example of playing hide and seek. And you're hiding. And you're listening to see if the person's getting close. Nowness, a little dot, one dot at a time. One shot reality is all there is. Everything happens only once. Two things can't happen at once. Conflicts that arise from mind are regarded as a necessary part of the process of mindfulness. At the same time, conflicts have to be controlled enough so that we can come back to mindfulness of breathing. So that makes sense, right? If you get angry, can't be so angry that you can't even do what you're doing. You just must get up and leave and run away. There has to be enough control there where you can be angry, but come back to the breath. There is the balance of not being lost in daydreams, nor missing the freshness and openness from not holding attention too tightly. This is wakefulness, mindfulness. Mindfulness of mind is being with your mind. You are there. If you realize you are not there, you are there. That's the echo that we were talking about earlier. Mindfulness is the act and the experience happening at the same time. Rinpoche had a quote, "You just do it with absolutely no implication behind what you are doing, not even mindfulness." And I think, like, if I had a ball and I were to just throw it at you, you wouldn't think, oh, I have to catch the ball, da da da. No, you would just catch the ball. So when he talked about spontaneous presence, you have already developed wisdom from living your lives. There's things that you know. And so you don't have to think about whether you know them. It's like, if you see something happening, you immediately go. You don't think, oh, well, I have to go and I'm going to do this, and right? You just do it. And so that's the kind of spontaneousness that comes from your wisdom, from your knowing aspect. So there's a path of working with emotions as a path of awakening. Emotions as a path of awakening is simply letting the emotion be just as it is. Don't suppress or be carried away. Relate to their basic substance. Seeing emotions as they are is the practice of shunyata, emptiness. Emotions are seen through. This is the ultimate practice of nonviolence. No good, no bad. You just see it, that's it. There's no judgment. There's no mental, conceptual elaboration, da 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 da. You just see it. Bring attention to where you are right now. Stay with the energy without acting out or repressing. Notice how the body is feeling, pains, aches, sensations of heat and cold, places where you are tight or relaxed. What emotions do you notice? Sokni Rinpoche, be willing to feel some discomfort. So the birth of the warrior, it is the synchronization of body and mind and the absence of duality, ego. It is not about being a warrior, but the essence of warriorship. Warrior notion is different from someone who makes war. We are referring to the blossoming of full dignity of our human existence. It's having consideration for others and being gentle to oneself and others. The warrior's birth begins with an honest examination of the cocoon and one's fears. It is the way to begin to discover and express one's fearlessness. This is a way out of the cocoon. Meditation practice has no allegiance to fear or warriorship. So in the post-meditation experience, warrior's way, as Trungpa Rinpoche might describe it, the very first step is commitment, discipline. Psychological change is required or habitual patterns continue. That's obvious. So in post-meditation awareness, this is the heart of Buddhist meditation practice along with sitting practice. Your practice doesn't end when you get up off the cushion or when you get up the chair. Your life is the practice of meditation. Simplify everything down to the immediate present practice of what one is doing without expectation, without judgment, and without opinion. There is no concept of being involved in a battle of evil or on the side of good. One is fully with the present moment, like dancing again. Whatever's happening, you're responding, you're totally there, give back, forth, and so forth. There should be no feeling of striving to reach some exalted goal or higher path. Since this produces something conditioned and artificial, as that will act as an obstruction to the free flow of the mind, it will also empower your ego even more. The minute you say, oh, I did that, soon as you do that, who's doing that, right? Nothing, just openness, just awareness. There's no judgment. So the discipline of fearlessness is recognizing fear when it arises and not turning away from it. You are looking into your state of mind. We face forward, going into and through the fear, giving birth to warriorship. We learn to recognize first thought or direct experience itself. That first thought, direct experience. Second thought, the mental conceptual elaboration we put on the first thought. I'm making a pot of soup, and I say to you, see if this needs more salt. You take a spoon, you take a sip. That first experience, taste, that. Second thought, oh, it doesn't need more salt, or it needs more salt. Second experience. The senses, so important to stay with the experience, that rather than the conceptual elaboration that we put on everything. So fear has many faces: old age and death, abrupt fear, panic from new situations. Fear can manifest in the form of restlessness, doodles on a notepad, hands in pockets, fidgeting in chairs. Fear hides in things we need to do. Oh, I don't have time to do that. In the person we have to see and feel uncomfortable with, the meeting that we have to arrange and keep putting off. Fear exists in hesitations and doubts. Anything unfamiliar and strange to our experience. We always move towards the familiar. Back again to the familiar foods. By the way, the foods were wonderful. Thank you so much. It was really kind. Thank you. We have strategies to take our mind off fear, tranquilizers, magazines, shopping, and entertainment. So again, a quote from Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, fearlessness is not jumping off a cliff. Fearlessness is in conjunction with accuracy and knowing the process of how to respond to the phenomenal world by means of our sense perceptions, our mind, which is our wisdom, and our sense of GES. So GES is Great Eastern Sun. Great Eastern Sun is you're having people over for dinner. So you don't have a pile of dirty dishes in the sink. You've probably vacuumed and cleaned everything up and so forth. So it's a sense of elegance and eloquence and upliftedness. When you step in, you go, oh, yes, right? Sometimes churches do that. You go in and go, oh, right? So that's Great Eastern Sun. And when you live your life like that, you realize that life isn't just special occasions. Life is every moment that you're alive, that you have experience, making that into the very best, most elegant way that you can. That's how life becomes very kind of noble in a sense. You don't need money to do that, by the way. It's a very simple process that we can all do with whatever we have, however we live. So he said something that I just love this quote. It's just, precision is gentleness in space. Precision is gentleness in space. And I love that because it's so descriptive of everything that we do, even giving somebody a cup of coffee. So we make a commitment to ourselves to hold our spot, if possible, and face our fear. What happens from there is dependent on how skillful we have learned to be. Attempting to be genuine is enough to show us our fear. So now you're at a gathering and you really want to impress these people. You want to get along with these people. These people are important to your future one way or the other. And you find out that you are holding a completely different view than the people you're with. Maybe you're at a political function where you discover that you're one party and everybody else is the other party. So you have made a commitment to be genuine. So that's the situation. So even though it shows you your fear, so if your commitment is to yourself and being genuine all the time, 100% of the time, you will always face situations where you need to learn how to be maybe diplomatic, but not untruthful to yourself or dishonest. So embracing the fear and not the cowardice allows the breakthrough from the cocoon of habitual patterns. And then there's two quotes, wonderful quotes. One is from the Dalai Lama. Feel the feeling, but don't become the emotion. Witness it, allow it, release it. And Eckhart Tolle, rather than being your thoughts and emotions, be the awareness behind them. And right away, I think of the ocean and the waves, you know. So there are two aspects to awareness. There is a sense of space in our perception and in our state of mind. In other words, in your perception. So you have a feeling about something. This is the way it is. And then all of a sudden, there's no space for anybody to interject. Oh, you hear it, but you say, oh, you dismiss it. That's not the way it is. But all of you find when you say that there is space in your mind and with your perceptions, you're saying that someone could tell you something that is completely the opposite. And yet there's openness to hearing that and allowing that to be what it is. And not necessarily closing your mind down. I can't, this is my point of view. This is it. I have 3 daughters and a son. And so, I don't know if I should be telling you the story anyway. So she comes home from work and she says that she's just discovered that one of the employees that she's working with is going through a divorce or thinking of a divorce, very unhappy. And that's because her husband is having an affair. And then what happens is they find out she's caught having an affair herself in one of the rooms in the hospital. And so my daughter immediately, that's not right, because you've made a commitment to that person. You don't do things like that. And I said, well, yes, I agree. I mean, you've made a commitment to this person. They've made a commitment to you. You know, you should decide, I guess, ahead of time, you don't want to be with this person anymore, then you separate and then you do whatever else you want to do, right? But I also think, I said, you know, in other cultures, things are different. You can't have that attitude with every other culture that you meet because it may be completely different. Look at the Mormons. They can have several wives. Look at the Inuit. It was customary when someone, now I've heard this and I've read this, but I don't know that it's true. You know, today you can't count on anything for being reliable. But anyway, supposedly, if you spent the night, you were a traveler in the Inuit area, and you're had a visitor, you would offer your wife to him for that night. And then you have other people that just agree. And in our society today, my next door neighbor's son says he's polyamorous. I said, well, what's that? So polyamorous supposedly is where you just have different relationships. And there's no, you know, so if you agree to marry that person, the rule is, as I understood it, I could be completely wrong, that they're allowed to continue to have other relationships. Okay. So from my point of view, you can have something for yourself. You're genuine. You can decide what is right for you, what you feel you want to do, how you want to be. But you can't impose your view onto everybody else that they must believe the way that you believe. That's supposedly a free country. So from that perspective, we should, as long as we're not harming other people, I don't know. I'm going to be quiet now. That was my opinion. I didn't mean to go into that. Okay.
Ride back, you said, told this story.
Pardon me?
Is your daughter still going to give you a ride home if you told this story?
That's not my daughter, not that one.
Okay.
I have two more. It's a, you know, this is for someone who's as old as I am. I'm 83. I have to stop. I can't say anything anymore because my view of how I grew up and the view that I was raised with does not exist anymore. It's just not there. Things change so much, so I hesitate to feel judgmental about anything anymore because I don't know what's going on. When I decided to close my school opened in 2000, I retired in 2017, and I told this to someone who I saw here earlier. I realized I didn't understand the reference points they were coming from. It was a junior, senior high school. So I said to them, I said, please explain to me your reference points. Share with me where you're coming from. And when they shared with me their reference points, I realized I didn't understand where they were coming from at all. I had absolutely no idea where they were coming from. It didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And that's when I retired. Because I said, this is it. I mean, you have to have, you know, communication. You have to have some idea where you're going, you know. And it was like, I was at a point where I imposed my own rules and regulations on the school. And so everybody abided by that, and they were all very happy. But outside of that, all kinds of other things were going on. So anyway, so the second aspect to awareness, insight begins to occur. We begin to see the connections between our thoughts and emotions. We are able to separate our projections about people and things from how they actually are. And I would use this example all the time. I would say to my students, you're going to meet someone for the first time. Please be aware of how you look, because we see someone for the first time, we don't know them. We make a judgment about who they are, what they're all about, based on what we see and what our realm of background of experience is. The next time you see them, they may be dressed like you might see them in a pair of jeans and t-shirt and whatever, and the next time you see them, they're in a three-piece suit. How you react to someone in a three-piece suit as opposed to a pair of jeans and t-shirt might be very different. And once the perception is made, it's very difficult to undo that. You have to, it takes a little time, a few, 3 or 4 times to be with that person to undo that initial perception of what you thought they were, who you thought they were. We can separate the present moment from the past and so on. In other words, you have a tremendous fight with someone, and now they're walking into your world. I think we've already discussed this. It's like someone described it once as all of a sudden you have a ball and chain attached to your leg and you're dragging it into the present moment. So this ball and chain is coloring the experience that you have with this person. It's not that you ever suspend your wisdom, your intelligence. Never. If this person were a thief, this is an extreme example, and you know they're a thief, and you've had situations maybe where they've stolen from you, you do not leave your purse because it's an open space now and it's a brand new moment and it's all fresh to give them the temptation to take what they see here, because your wisdom, your intelligence tells you from your past experience, but you do not violate the space that you have, because we're coming from compassion and kindness. We're always hoping that things are going to be better, that we're going to be able to give people opportunity to redo and to renew their lives, that we're not going to be the one that keeps them in that same pattern of negativity, that we create the space of openness so that they experience that with our wisdom. We begin to recognize our habitual patterns. We begin to develop insight into the discontinuous, patched up nature of our cocoon. Freedom and spontaneity are the result. Because we create the cocoon, we can uncreate it. Sharpening our awareness, we see the contrast of cocoon and direct sense perceptions and give birth to warriorship. Discovering the freshness of our experience is the first opening of the cocoon. Challenges are the working basis. There is a growing appreciation that difficulties are not fundamental obstacles to experiencing our basic goodness, our Buddha nature. When faced with fear, we go in and out of fear. We can do it. This is called the imperial attitude. Freedom and fearlessness are the result. When the secular becomes sacred, we begin to discover the true war. Oh, I'm going to be really genuine. I'm going to, for this period of time, for this event, I'm going to be at my top. I'm going to do da 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 da. I'm going to manifest perfectly. And then you begin to discover that it's not just during certain events, but it's with every moment, every movement, every interaction, every communication. The secular has become sacred. When you have no doubt you can rely on or are dependent on feedback from or encouragement or discouragement, this is not a journey where you only perform when you have somebody watching or you get applause. Oh, you did such a good job. Oh, la, 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 la. And if you don't have that applause or that extra support behind you saying, oh, you did it, da, da, da. You don't need that anymore. It's your confidence that you have, your own journey, your own commitment to what you're doing. That's what's driving you. And if someone were to come and say to you the opposite, oh, don't worry about, just relax, have a good time. Yes, you can relax and have a good time. But your commitment to your awareness, to your basic being, to your Buddha nature, to compassion and kindness, to what you believe, that is what is happening. You also have no need to display your valor to others. In other words, you don't have to display to them how great you are, how wonderful you are, how good you've been. There's no desire, I have to watch that all the time. When I have my children, I should make sure that this isn't like this because then it'll be an example for them to So the warrior in the world, having learned not to turn away from fear, we can extend that practice into everyday life situations without the barrier of the cocoon. This takes daring. Our genuineness manifests as softness and sensitivity to the world. Through daring and gentleness, we open to a clear perception of the world and its feedback. In doing so, our fixation on our own point of view relaxes, and we learn that we can work with whatever situation arises. You can just be who you are. We can experience the world as open to possibilities because we have no project to defend. We can pay attention to what is happening without prejudice. We don't have to exaggerate our experience or dress it up in dramatic storylines. We don't have to interpret our perception of the world in our own terms. By approaching the world with the attitude of questioning with inquisitiveness, we see it from different angles. We can begin to understand how other people relate to their world because we do not have a program we are trying to impose. So meditation is a natural function of everyday life. To meditate is to pass beyond effort, aims, and goals. That was a hard one for me. But you think, I have a goal. This is my goal. I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to da, 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 da. But when you come back to the present moment of the space that we are all sharing, my goal is to do this talk and so forth. But if something comes up that disrupts this, I can't say, I'm sorry, but I'm busy here. It's like if you're out riding in your car and there's an accident and you know that you can be helpful. You don't say, I have to get to work at 10 o'clock because that's the time I'm supposed to be there and so forth. You stop your car and you do whatever you can do. So it's the moment, the awareness in the moment that determines your behavior, your action, your commitment. So having effort, aims, and goals, yes, we have them. But we have to always use our wisdom in the present moment for whatever we are experiencing right here, right now. This is where we are. This is what it is. Initial stages are unpleasant and fear-inspiring. We open completely to the pain or fear and welcome it. In this way, the barriers created by one's own habitual emotional reactions and prejudices are broken down. When performing meditation practice, one should think of it just as a natural function of everyday life, like eating and breathing, not as a special formal event to be undertaken with great solemnity and seriousness. It's a lonely journey, and the journey is up to you. Loneliness here is the starvation of ego. It is a very personal and individual journey. Avoiding pain and loneliness is a problem. Experiences of uncertainty, discontentment of all kinds are necessary. Whenever there is uncertainty and threat, there is loneliness, which is the fear of no companionship and fear that nobody understands you. Ultimately, the loneliness principle becomes aloneness, which brings a sense of confidence and space. Without samsaric experience, we are unable to reach this level of working towards freedom. The basic point of Tantra is interest and awareness in every activity throughout our lives at every moment. Bypassing the thought, open directly to the experience into open, non-dual space. The dance begins. Connecting and communicating with the world more directly permits us to experience our heart and the ways we respond to experience. Rather than using those responses as an occasion to regenerate habitual patterns, we can use them as reminders to wake up further. When we allow ourselves to meet the world in this way without hope and fear, we find resources of steadiness and energy. This brings love for the journey. The individual journey of warriorship must be taken before we can address the larger issue of how to help this world. Good behavior is to communicate our respect for others and develop self-control so we can extend ourselves to others. Gentle speech expresses our dignity. Gentle and tamed human beings who can make a genuine contribution to this world is the goal. Are there any questions? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to clarify, you said, get outside the cocoon, you mentioned fear a couple.
I'm sorry.
You mentioned fear.
Yes.
A couple of times after you get out of the cocoon. So does that mean that the things that we get rid of during meditation are our defenses? The defenses we had of the beliefs we have.
No, the cocoon, the definition of, I don't believe you were here when we defined cocoon, but cocoon is your habitual patterns that you have that are wrapped around you. So, and those habitual patterns are around you, the cocoon is out, it comes about because of fear. And fear is, it's not necessarily, oh, I'm afraid, but it's fear of irritation, not wanting to deal with something, turning away, not relating, ignoring. So when we have those experiences that we don't want to relate to, that's the habitual pattern of the cocoon. Is that, so ask your question again, please.
What was what changed in the inside of the cocoon and outside of the cocoon?
So when you have all of these behavior patterns, right, what you do is you don't relate. You go into your pattern of whatever that is to avoid doing whatever that is, right? So when you begin to undo those patterns, and you undo them by relating to them. So instead of turning away, you relate to it. And that undoes it. No, it's undone. So it takes it away from continuing in that pattern. So basically it's just a behavior pattern. And now you're creating a new behavior pattern rather than turning away and reinforcing the cocoon. You're getting rid of the cocoon. You're unwinding it. You're doing something different. You're not relating to that pattern any longer. You're creating a new pattern, which is fearlessness. Because even though you're afraid, you're willing to be there with it, whatever it is.
Then your experience of the world should change. When a person walks in the door that you're angry at or whatever, you're no longer angry.
Well, it's not that you're no longer angry. It's that you recognize the anger that you had. You recognize it. I was angry, and you get a feeling right away, but you're willing to not let the perception of your anger, what you would ordinarily do when you're angry with that person, like the communication that you would have with that person, being angry with them, you don't do that. You open to the space and you let whatever comes in be fresh and new. They may still be holding on to it, but you're not. So the reaction is going to be different, or maybe not with them, but with you it is, because you're not holding on and giving it back. We talked about earlier, it might make it easier to understand, that your basic essence is like the ocean. We use the analogy of the ocean and the waves. And your thoughts and your emotions are the waves on top of the ocean. So if you are just relating from there, you can see that the view of the ocean is not really being related to. You're relating solely with the emotional aspect, with the thought aspects, not with the whole ocean. But if you recognize that and you're willing to let go of that, then the ocean of open space, let's see what this is. Let's see what happens. So there's a willingness to open up to whatever that is and see it and experience it. Not that you would not forget your wisdom or your intelligence. Like if you know that this person is so angry with you, they're going to hit you. So you don't present your face. Here, have a thought.
So if you've truly gotten rid of it, I think that it would change their perspective.
It might,
They would,
and it might change the whole relationship. Yeah, because you're starting fresh. You're not starting from anything negative.
something like this is, so is that shamatha?
Shamatha is mindfulness, being aware of your mind, what's happening in your mind, right? You're here, you're present. Vipassana is, now that you have awareness of your mind, emptiness, you recognize emptiness, you're also aware of the environment and everything that's happening in the environment. That's Vipassana. Sometimes we're just here, but we don't have the awareness of the full space because we're just here. But when you have a Vipassana, shamatha automatically becomes organically Vipassana at some point. That's why they're not really separated. It's just a further experience of that. It's just like an expanding experience. So you're not just mindful and you're here with your breath and so forth. You're also where the breath is out 300 and, well, if you're 360 degrees. And as a result of that, you're aware this one's coming in, this one's, I mean, you're aware of what's going on at the same time. It's not just being here, present with the breath.
So when you're outside the cocoon, really outside, stay there. And that's passion.
The only problem is you can't do it by saying, I'm going to stay here. Then you got another problem, a bigger problem. That's why Trungpa Rinpoche said, it's a sad situation, but you can never see yourself being enlightened. Because there's no self. It just, that's it. But it's important to recognize when you have that self that's giving opinions and perceptions and evaluations and conceptualizations, and you're coming from that point of view, it's really important to recognize that's what it is. Because then you haven't left the ocean. You still have a view of the ocean. Because these are just, see, when this happens up here and you lose the ocean, you're totally with your emotions and you become that. You lost all awareness of your basic essence. That's what enlightenment is. Being aware, being with the ocean, never losing the ocean, never losing your sense of the space, and recognizing, just recognizing, not trying to do anything with it, just recognize a thought has arisen. And like Dilgo Kensei Rinpoche said, if you can catch it right at the moment where you just see it, you can get rid of it by just recognizing it. You don't do anything. You just recognize it and it goes away. It dissolves back into the void. But if you think about it and you keep thinking about it, you're feeding it energy. The more you think about it, the more energy you feed it. The more you feed it, the stronger it gets. Then you've lost your sense of the ocean completely. You're no longer here. All you recognize is the anger or whatever emotion it is that you have. You're taken over completely with it. You don't care about anything else. You don't see anything else. Which you lose your perspective because all you have is that. You've lost all of this, all of your awareness.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yep.
I was hoping you would talk a little bit more. You said practice should be effortless, and yeah, I can see like a lot of times my practice can be effortful, right? And there you can get then, at least for myself, into a place of
Yes.
hope and fear and
Oh, yeah.
confidence, problems.
Oh, yeah, yeah. effortless from the standpoint of view of like, even when you're given meditation instruction, they say, relax, you know. So if your meditation is tight, somebody's trying to do something. That's when you let go. Let go, relax. So it should not be a battle that you're going into. You don't have to battle with anything. If you're battling with something, then you're reinforcing it in some sense. Just relax. And you could get 100 times that thought could come up that could create that emotion of that tightness. Out breath. Back out. Doesn't matter how many times it comes up. That's called one-pointedness. Doesn't matter if your mind is upset or your mind is not upset. It doesn't matter. That's what's making you a warrior. That's what's bringing you to enlightenment. It's when you're not relating to your emotions, to those troubling situations that you have, you know, let them arise, you know. It's okay. Yeah. And did you have a question?
Sure. I was wondering if you would elaborate some on the quote that you gave us about you never get to see yourself become enlightened.
You never see yourself?
Become enlightened.
Oh,
Tell us more about that.
okay. That's a hard one. If you think about when you're in the meditation practice and you're between thoughts, there's no thought. This is ended and this isn't begun yet. You're right there, right? Believe it or not, there is no self there. And so the minute that you have to, like they say, it's so deceiving in a sense, the middle way is the right way, middle way, right? Well, what is the middle way? So you have right and you have wrong, whatever. We're just playing names here. And you're in the middle. You don't go this way and you don't go that way. You're right there. And so when you are there, if you take a stand this way or this way, you have self. You have an opinion about something. I should go this way. I should go this way. But to see the emptiness, or that maybe that's not quite exactly the right word, of both positions, completely in the middle, nothing, not left, not right. Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche, our retreat master in 3-year retreat, I was always amazed. He was a master at this. Never took sides. I can remember being in a few instances where there were arguments of this and then there were arguments of that, and he'd be like right in the middle. And it's not that you don't have an opinion. It's that to go one way or the other brings you into the whole discursiveness of why you should be doing this or why you should be doing that. That's why sometimes when I think about spontaneous presence, someone dying and drowning, there's no right or left, there's action, spontaneous presence. Your wisdom comes forth. So when you are enlightened, oh, I am enlightened. I know. Really? Who is that? Doesn't exist. We don't exist. We have been tricked, maybe that's not the right word, into thinking that we have an identity. You live there, you do this for work, you have this relationship, you have the da, 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 da. Ideas, mental. that's why you don't, like, if someone, and there's again, a confidence comes into this now. If someone has an outrage with you, oh, you did this, you da, 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 da. Some people go, oh no, why are they bothering me? Oh, I feel so bad. They said that I was this, or la 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 la, right? You took it personally. The minute you did that, ego. Ego responding. The minute you take it personally, it's your ego. So if you know yourself, that's why I said confidence, what you are, who you are. Yes, you have an open mind if somebody says to you, oh, you did this wrong. And you say, oh, you look at it and decide. But for them to say, oh, you did, you not, no, no. You have to look at it for yourself and decide. And if they're right, you say, oh, let me look at that. Oh yeah, they're right. I have to change that. Coming back here, I have to change it. That was not right. I see now where I did something wrong, or that needs to be changed. And then you change it. But you don't take what anybody says. If they could have a whole thing, okay, so that's their opinion. Now, if there's something in there that I need to pay attention to, I want to know about that. So please tell me. But doesn't mean anything. It all comes back to your confidence and your journey. Did I answer your question?
Very good answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No.
I'm just kicking around the words about spontaneity and thinking about how sometimes I'll feel something like that comes up, but there's a little, fear that it's going to be erratic or harmful.
Hesitation?
Yeah, like I don't maybe trust that the spontaneity is going to along with the wisdom mind.
Oh,
Something like
we
that.
make mistakes,
Yeah.
but you just do the best thing you can.
Is it better, would you say, to kind of lean toward the spontaneity, even if you're
thinking-
this, it holds the potential for mistake, that mistake.
What I would say is that don't think too much about it.
Uh-huh.
I would say that, you want to make the right action and you move forward. And that's how we learn. That's what skillful means is all about. It's the more you experience, the more you learn. Sometimes we think too much, oh, should I, or shouldn't I, maybe yes, oh, well, I don't know, So obviously, don't think too much, don't get too much into that. Just basically let your confidence come forth. And sometimes we make mistakes. We do. And that's how we learn. And the next time it comes up, you can't even count that. Each situation is brand new. Happening in the space right here, right now. You just do the best you can. Yeah. Oh, you had a question?
First, I would just like to express gratitude. Thank you for coming to share these teachings with us. It's really profound to me. The text by Phobia Funkpa, the Baba Warrior, was my first time that I read the word Mahayana. So I'm really honored to receive these teachings directly. I apologize, I missed the beginning of this teaching, and you said that this is a secret teaching that hasn't been revealed. Can you tell me the name of this path of practice so that I can further study?
Well, it's all coming from Padmasambhava. And it's been secret for hundreds, thousands of years, because what he would do is during his time during the 10th century. Was it 10th century or 8th century? 8th century. And he and his disciples, Yeshe Tsogel, buried what they called terma which were teachings that were not supposed to be found until when the time was ready, when certain situations were happening. And you do that because they become corrupted. Each generation kind of changes it a little bit, you know. But these teachings are the Vajrayana, supposedly the Vajrayana teachings, the Dzogchen teachings that we've been talking about, Vajrayana Mahamudra. I was told by my teacher in retreat, Kemba Kartar, that these teachings would probably, there'll only be a period of time like now that they will be taught, because this is the time that they're needed for. And then when the new eon comes into existence, we're on the downflow now in the dark ages before we come up again, then supposedly there's another golden period. When the new golden period comes up, they'll only have Mahayana teachings, not Vajrayana teachings. These are Vajrayana teachings, because the people at that time will not need that. So basically, if you do any of the teach, like we've talked about some great teachers, Zongsar Khyentse Rinpoche, this teacher right here, Trachin Jogyal Rinpoche, who was a Sakya master, master of the Kalachakra Tantra. And so most of the teachings that I gave today were from there, but they all coincide directly with the teachings that were given to me by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, His Holiness Karmapa, Dilbo Khyentse Rinpoche. And so you have the Kagyu lineage. There's 4 lineages in Tibetan Buddhism: Kagyu, Nyingma, Sakya, and Gelugpa, which is the Dalai Lamas. And all 4 of those lineages have teachers that practice these teachings. But because they create so much confusion, it's like when you give these teachings, what is so important is that people take them and they think that they're doing them. And what's happening is they're reinforcing their ego. Oh, I got this. And so you have to find through your meditation practice, that's why your sitting practice is so important, as well as your, post-meditation, because you have to discover that space in the mind. You weren't here for the morning. You weren't here for the morning?
No, man. I was here. I came in just as we took vows of refuge at the beginning of the second teaching.
Okay, so Sakya Pandita, the space between 2 thoughts. One thought ends before the next thought begins. You're doing your meditation practice, and we miss it because it's so ordinary. It's like nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. It's just openness, just space. You're not thinking anything. You're just there. That's it. That's the clear luminosity. And when they put the name clear luminosity, we think, oh, something's brilliant. You know, we have to experience it like that. But we have to practice recognizing, not doing anything, just recognizing that space and training our minds to come back to that place. And that's what our sitting practice does, because when we're moving about, it's hard. Then we start working with our emotions as we're going through our daily lives and what's coming up for us, and all these instances that we experience where we want to turn away, where we don't want to relate, where we want to do something else, you know, and so forth. So meeting those situations also brings us to a stability of mind where we don't turn away and create further patterns, habitual patterns of hiding, not relating, but relating to the situations in our life, in our everyday world. But the sitting practice helps us with that, because we learn to recognize thoughts and we learn to stay in that space. And the longer we can stay in that space, and the more that it expands, when we see thoughts and energy arising, we can catch it. We recognize it. They're void, they're thoughts. Energy is coming. Thoughts create more and more thoughts, create more and more energy. The more you think about it, the stronger it becomes, the more carried away you are. then you're no longer with the space, with the view. You understand?
I'm coming to understand. Thank you so much for sharing these teachings with
Oh,
us.
you're welcome.
Mostly Dzogchen
Dzogchen,
and the Kala Chakra.
well, the Kala Chakra,
Teachings that you're sharing mostly.
I
I just wanted to make sure I understood.
think sitting meditation practice, primary. And then working with your energy as it's arising in different things. And I would say Mahamudra, Mahamudra and Dzogchen have the same outcome, Ati. Ati is the fruition of Dzogchen. That's their highest teachings. And Mahamudra is a more romantic way of experiencing Ati. The only difference actually is that how you approach it. For instance, with Dzogchen and Ati, it's cut, cut. See it? Cut, cut. Mahamudra is, oh, I recognize it. Okay. Mhm. But it's the same, because in recognizing it, you see it. It's just softer.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, so, I understood if someone is a known thief, you don't leave your wallet or your purse, out in the open and, I trust everybody, I'm compassionate, you use some intelligence and you keep the wallet in your pocket or whatever, right? If a family member, happens to be extremely angry and extremely manipulative and confronting. And maybe with the best of intentions and the best of intentions for compassion, bodhicitta, you're going to try and be really loving, but their intensity is so strong that it blows you out of the ocean. Right? And it takes you days to get back in the ocean. So I think
By the way, it's great you have somebody living with you like that. You get plenty of practice.
they don't live with me,
Oh,
first of all, thank God.
okay.
No, and I mean, I would like your opinion. You like the person, like to a known angry person, you stick your chin out there, yeah, go ahead, hit me. Now maybe my level of realization is not so deep that I'm going to transform the person. And maybe I have the best intentions. But in the meantime, I have to try to not take it personally, keep my heart open, stay in the ocean, but use some sense. Like create some real clear boundary. And in one case, I know what the boundary is in this case. Because
What's the boundary?
because the only access this person has is through text and phone. And there's this little handy technique that you can block a phone number.
Oh, yeah.
Until maybe I'm strong enough or maybe he hits rock bottom and changes.
Do you know what the source of this anger is, or this, where this is all coming from? Do you know what the source of that is?
Yeah, he was the oldest son in a divorce situation. The divorce happened in 1982, and his mother was very angry, and he absorbed it,
Mhm.
and then he built it for the next 30 years or something, or 40.
Mhm.
And he's just that's the source of the anger.
I think what I would do is have no expectation of him at all as far as his anger or his attitude. And I would invite him to, if you can invite him to spend some time with you, doing not long periods, short periods of time where you can exchange, find something that he enjoys doing. And maybe spend some time with him. Maybe he likes to bowl or something, so you go bowling. I don't know. Likes to watch football games. you know, and so that you create little moments where the aggression is not, you know, because sometimes if they don't see you, they just hold on to that. That's what happens is, you know, like if you have a fight with someone and you don't have any, you've just crossed them off. And so they're crossed off as far as you're concerned. But if there's opportunities for you to have other experiences with them that are not like that, that would be a good situation. They don't have to be long, but just short experiences, you know, so that they can get to know who you are. And they can have a good time or not be upset by being with you. You know?
Yeah, and I think in that case, that would take courage, but that's okay. I've been facing that fear for about 50 years now.
You get lots of merit.
And it's fun because the fear turns into energy. But also be smart, you know, if he starts on his anger thing.
Then your meeting is shorter. And you don't let them get into it, and you say, "Oh, it's been so good seeing you. You know, I look forward to the next time." Da 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 da, and that's it. You know. So because remember, they have behavior patterns too. So his perceptions have to change about you. So until you start, you know, giving him a different perception of you, everything remains the same. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be long periods of time. It could just be short little things, you know, but good experiences, thing where he can see that your thoughtfulness of him, like little things that you might do that, you know, he likes something in particular and you present that to him or something, you know. You have to change his perception, his habit. Hard to do, but it is possible.
Yeah. A lot of growth opportunity here.
You could go to enlightenment on this one.
Yeah. I thought I would do that with my wife, but and I already kind of am, you know, but this one's another level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forget about levels. Just do it. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Could you speak a little about engaging with thoughts? Because I know I have some things I do as far as engaging in kindness towards yourself and other, like, can you talk about how the ocean is like all the waves are going and like, hey there, that can calm down, you know, how you can have that conversation with your thoughts and maybe quickly calm a wave down.
I
Or
think
is there a conversation?
there's no conversation. What you have to do is you have to recognize what's happening. And just recognize it. That this is going on, that this is all happening, and then go about your business. Just go about don't give it too much thought, because the more you think about it and what you're going to do and how you're going to work it and you're feeding more to it. You know, it's like, if you have it, maybe go and sit and do meditation or go shopping or, you know, just something else because you will have different thoughts. Those thoughts will not continue when you do something else. Right?
Right.
Are you sure about that?
What?
Like, in other words, so you have a thought about being kind, you said. Wanting to be kind to yourself.
Toward like, oh, you're having that thought, like a quick thing, not a big conversation, but a quick thing to say to whatever, to like,
okay,
we're not going there.
You're not making friends with thoughts. Don't make friends with thoughts. You don't have to make them, they're void. They don't exist. They're just nothing. There's something in your mind, just something comes up and it's just something. So all you have to do is recognize this is, and then come back to whatever you're doing. Whatever you're doing at that, washing your dishes, come back. The thought comes up again, come back to washing your, just like coming back to the breath in meditation. You just come back to whatever it is that you're doing in the present moment. And just keep coming back. And at some point, and as soon as you see the thought, don't let it go there and percolate and get bigger and bigger. And what am I going to do to you? And how am I going to get rid of you? You know, don't do that. As soon as you see it, come back to whatever it is you're doing. Don't give it any more attention. They have to have your attention to survive. If you don't give them the attention, they will dissolve.
What if it does dissolve when you say, not going there, and then it's,
You just, and then it comes up
Yeah.
again, you just go back to whatever you're doing. That's the practice. Just like when you're sitting meditation and you come back to the breath and you find, oh, I'm lost in my thoughts. Come back to the breath. You have your thought, oh, there it is again. Come back to your, whatever you're doing, whatever's happening. Just come back to that. Be gentle. There's no, it's not a big deal. They're there. They're coming all the time. We have thoughts all the time. You know, the problem is we start going into them and we want to do something with them. And we're thinking about them. And the more you think about it, the stronger it gets. Oh, how am I going to stop thinking about this? The more you do that, the more energy you feed to it. So come back to whatever you're doing. It's like the example I gave you of my daughter who was furious, went in the room and slammed the door. I don't want to have anything to do with anybody. Just leave me alone. Oh, Rachel, so-and-so is here to talk to you. Oh, Rachel's here. Oh, la, 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 la. Gone. Completely gone. All of the aggression that she had about not wanting to do anything with him. Completely different. And your thoughts are like that. There's a place in here where I said, your thoughts, there's no environment other than your thoughts. There is no environment other than your thoughts. That's how we move through the day. One environment to another environment. So when we're experiencing something, we have to recognize the association of the thoughts that are creating that environment, you know, and recognize that's what's happening.
I'm gonna go back to Larry though, who has an ongoing 50-year. Ongoing thoughts about a situation he has.
Yes.
So that's a different kind of thought, like, how do you
No, it's the same.
just don't
He's,
think about
the
it?
phone rings, he knows it's that person immediately. His thought and perception is in that place, right? This is so-and-so. Right? Now his environment is this. So that's why you recognize it, let go. And open to the space. This is where something can happen. Right here, right now, in any moment. That is in our minds. We said, right? The past is gone, can't change it. Can't change it. Future, where does the future live? In our minds. What can you do with that? All you can do something with is right here, right now, in this space. It's the only place something can happen. Right now.
Dovetail off these two conversations. So. Let's say you have it, let's, I hope you don't mind if I use you as an example. But it's just like, let's say Larry.
It's not my example, it's your perception of.
So. Well, maybe it's not even dovetailing off that. I mean, I'm just thinking, so Larry, let's say he's driving home after today. and he starts thinking about whatever issue he's having. And trying to think, let's say, about next time he gets a call. How am I gonna handle it? What am I gonna do with it? Those are all thoughts. So when does a thought that's, oh, we'll just let go, it's just another thought. How do you distinguish between that and, let's say, in this example, Larry or somebody planning for a next encounter? Or do we not plan and just do it all in the moment spontaneously?
No, you plan. Like if you're gonna have a dinner party or something, you plan. If you're in college, you're studying for your exam, you know, and so on. So you're doing that. So while you're doing your activity, washing your dishes, you're doing your activity, right? So now with his friend or whatever, he has a different idea about how he's going to relate, right? And so he thinks he's coming from a point of compassion, right? He wants things to be good, happy, compassionate, sensible. All right. So he thinks, well, maybe if I invite him. Okay, so now you have the plan, right? So now you put the plan away. You have the plan.
Stop thinking of it.
That's right. Now you have the actual moment. So how you planned and how the moment turns out may be very different. You have no idea. How can you know?
So there's a differentiation between, okay, I'm gonna think about this, I've got a plan, I've got it, put it on the shelf till we implement it. The other would be, I start thinking about it and all of a sudden, because I know I'm like this about concerns in my life, you know, it's like I think about this, all of a sudden, I've got 8 scenarios and I just wasted a half an hour. That's not good.
No.
That I should cut. But if it's an actual plan where I'm thinking, okay, well, I wanna deal with this and this is how I might deal with it, that's
Well, you can have the tiers of plans.
okay.
That doesn't matter. But then you have the moment. You have the actual experience. You have the now. So all of that, that's what I was saying before. You can't have any aims, goals, and ambitions. That's what I was saying. So, because that sounds contrary, like you have goals, you're going to go to university, you're going to get your degree, you're going to have your business, you're going to all of those things. Okay, you have your plans, you've studied for them and so forth. But now you have the actual experience, the communication, the dance of the moment, the actual thing happening. What you have to be careful of is if you're going to put anything negative out, like go back to, I'm going to get you, or whatever, you know, you have to be willing to take a chance and to open up compassionately to that space. You have a plan. Now you open to the space. Now what happens is spontaneous. Now it's spontaneous. Doesn't matter what the plan was.
And it's like, this is my idea,
Yeah,
and
that's
it
right.
might play out however.
That's right. But now it's spontaneous, and now you're dancing. So you're not just putting forth your plan. One step, we're doing the tango. Ta-da, ta-da, right? Or the waltz, right? Because if you don't do that, then you lose the communication. It's what you want it to be.
It's just a play of the thoughts that I had, and that's not where we're at.
Always comes back to the space. Always comes back to the now.
And this is where the rubber meets the road.
Yes.
So, you have a lot of skills, Tonglen, mantra. Tonglen is an excellent one. We want to create loving kindness and compassion. And that person is suffering in this case. We know they're suffering. They've exhibited their suffering in their demeanor. And so the natural response to that suffering, for those who've taken bodhisattva vows, is to relieve that suffering and leave no one behind. So it is our responsibility and vow, actually, not to ignore them. But what we can do is actually do the Tonglen. And in that way, you cultivate bodhicitta, and you're creating the conditions for your bodhicitta to grow, which is excellent. And in the same way, you can ruminate over different plans and things like that and have an idea, but it's never going to work out the way you think it is.
It never does.
We can pretty much say that. But yes, so we do have methods. So we have to recall those, use them in those situations.
And you know, what comes to mind is intention. You know, what's the intent? Why am I doing this, and for what reason? But also, I do, you know, I dedicate the merit every night before I go to bed, and I dedicate the merit to Jonah and all sorts of beings. He's one of them. And here, whenever we dedicate them, I always include him.
Yeah.
And that's helpful too.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is.
Also, the Tonglen, the 7 points of mind training.
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
essential. I mean, that is the
They talk about situations.
preliminary practices.
Yeah, and instances that arise and what attitude of mind you should take to those things. It's like a code of ethics almost. And it's like, you know, if this arises, then you would do this and so forth. So maybe that might be something for the future that you might want to do, you know, the 7 points of mind training. Yes?
Lojong.
Lojong, yes.
If you want to keep your thoughts silent, that ringer. But to the Tonglen is a supplement. Some people are, how should I put it, unsafe to be around. So that would be a way around that unsafe person, instead of knowing that they will take your purse, even if you're not carrying a purse. It might be a way to.
Yeah, that creates a little more distance in that regard. You don't actually have to be with them eyeball to eyeball, but you are with them in your mind stream, and you're offering the best possible scenario in your mind stream.
And I'm thinking too that if you with the Tonglen, then when I am with the person, in this case my eldest son, and my practice, and I can actually take some of his pain and
Absolutely.
give him back tranquility.
Absolutely.
That's the practice.
I can see that.
Yeah. And that's good to do. Pema Chodron has written many books about that. Pema Chodron,
Yeah. Right.
she's excellent on that. That's
Don't
her
bite
whole-
the hook.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I had on 3 different occasions over the last 35 years or 40, I have given him complete free rein to just vent, and I have just heard him, not interfere. I didn't know Tonglen at the time, but I did know how to give space, and I guess that actually helps. You know.
No, they kind of get it off their chest.
But-
See, but you didn't take it personally. That's the problem. We take it personally. Then we have a reaction to it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm curious about how you balance householder responsibilities with immersing more in the Dharma. And so I recognize it's a very personal question, so you can answer how you wish. But with having children and family and taking retreat, and I'll also like extend this question too to Lama, and maybe again, you don't have to answer, but this is just in general. How do you balancing household those responsibilities when you have people who are expecting you to be around or be there or whatever, those responsibilities with if you want and are interested in, like, how do you handle that with 3-year retreat or so?
Oh, a 3-year retreat.
Yeah, in general. I don't know about you that. I'm just curious about possible.
Well, I had 4 children. But when I did retreat, they were all grown. So none of them were living at home. So if you have little ones, do you have a partner?
Yeah, I'm engaged.
Okay, so sometimes partners help one another with that. Like you say, I'm gonna try to do a retreat, and then they take on the responsibilities that you have and so forth for a while. Sometimes that's helpful. You can't always expect that everybody's going to have the same view that retreat is really wonderful. You know, especially if you're a Westerner in the tradition that we're in, because our perspective is if you do 3-year retreat, no matter what happens at home, you're not coming out of retreat. You're going to be there. Westerners don't see it like that. At least my Westerners did not see it like that. So there were results where serious things happened when I was in retreat. And one was that my mother had a brain hemorrhage, and they thought she was going to die, or she was going to die. And so I'd given my sister 2 phone numbers, one for the cook in the retreat center that I was, and one for the monastery at KTD, Karma Triana Dharma Chakra. And she called not the retreat cook that could have gotten the message to me right away, but she called the monastery, and it took them a while to figure out who she was talking about. So 4 days later, Kempo came to me and said, "This is happening." And he says, "Call your sister." So you don't call, but I had permission to call. So I called her. They were insisting that I come home. But by that 4 days, she was already settled in a nursing home. Everything was done. So I decided not to come out. Created tremendous problems with my family because they viewed it from a whole other perspective. So to answer your question, you have certain responsibilities, especially if you have children, and you have to make sure that those responsibilities are covered or related to. Now, your friend, your fiance, your husband, whomever, or family and so forth, great. If they can handle that and are willing to help you, that's great. If not, you make a little list of your priorities, what's most important. And then you either cover them, and if you can't, then you have to figure out a way how you're going to do it with the time and the place where you are. And then you move that way. And that's all, that's the only advice I can give you. Lama, do you want to say something else?
If you're serious about retreat, that is a question you'll be asked. Is there anything that you can anticipate that would be a problem in retreat? Parents are okay. You don't have any outstanding debts. You don't have anything that is going to impinge on you while you're in retreat. And as far as that goes, then lots happens in retreat. And you're cleaning karma that just keeps coming. And that's what you want. Let's do it. Let's get on the other side of this. So generally in retreat, people do have karmic situations that occur, just as Lama says. I certainly had mine, and that's inevitable. But it's not to be, that's not a reason not to do it. It's a reason to do it. But you have to be aware that it's not going to be a walk in the park necessarily. But if you're going to go through a situation like that, you're in a good environment. You have to attend to your practice and have confidence that the result is going to be worth the sacrifice. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's a big decision, sure.
Yeah, thank you both. Yeah, that definitely does. Again, this is like way long. This is not like anytime soon or anything, but just.
No, good that you're considering it. Hold the thought. And just having the thought is a good thing.
I was thinking that about your question a little bit about. And then, well, the situation about when, you see the thought and you just cut it. Or, come back. And, I've worked with that a long time, but I think sometimes the cutting was a little bit like ignoring instead of cutting. Can you talk about that?
Oh, sure. That's a good one.
Yes.
Really, it's mine, think a lot.
Ignore all this.
that's something that you really have it goes back to your confidence again. And if you feel that this is the boundary, this is it, this is the point. And if it comes to that, then you just do it. But if you feel that you're not sure where the boundary is, then you need to look into yourself and you need to find out, well, where is that boundary? Exactly where is that point where I just cut?
Well, that's why more recently I've been hearing instructions like, okay, just don't go immediately, to cutting. It's more like, touch it, kind of feel it and let it go. Not so, and more, and then the reason it relates to, I think, your question was that the feeling of tortures, there's some feeling with the cutting other than the hardness of.
You have to think about it.
The instruction
Yeah.
feels very.
You have to think about the other person or the other situation. For instance, are you helping them by allowing them to continue to do what it is that they're doing? So it comes from a point of view, not so much of you, but of them.
Oh, I was thinking more in terms of when I'm just sitting practice. So I'm not really thinking about.
Oh, okay.
When it's more like, okay, thoughts come up, you recognize you're thinking, you come back and so forth, but sometimes that's when. It's sort of like, maybe there's some things that need some attention. No?
Absolutely not.
Well,
Your thoughts aren't.
No,
sentient?
during that period of time that you are doing your sitting practice, your meditation practice, that is the one commitment that you make during that period of time. However, if it's an hour, if it's a half an hour, if it's 15 minutes, during that period of time, does not matter what thought arises. Not at all. It's a thought. Cut.
Renunciation is also an important part of the path. Renouncing samsara. Samsara will never be your friend. And so all these thoughts that come up is our attachment to samsara. So when we look at this and we say cut, what we're saying is that's part of renunciation.
That's the only commitment you make during that time, is to come back to the breath. During that period of time, whatever amount of time you've designated for that sitting practice, during that time, the thought arises, cut. Thinking, go back to the breath. That's your discipline. That's your commitment. That's it. Now, when you're out about and you're doing whatever you're doing and you have thoughts, then you're working with the energy of those thoughts. You're working with facing your fear. You have a question?
yeah, so I think I'm gonna pull this together. Think, when I was thinking about your question, I was thinking my tendency is to try to use that, and like, I'm not gonna go to that, what I call inflation storm, all the emotions are like, "Woo." And I'm just gonna come back, and I'm just gonna come back. And eventually what I think I'm doing, and this is my mind, is I'm starting to use that antidote as a way to suppress. Right?
Well, you're not, thought is a thought. We're not suppressing anything. We're cutting our thoughts. That's the practice.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I need to think about that.
No, but I think it keeps coming back.
Oh, yeah. It can
because-
keep coming back and coming back and coming. It'll come back forever. Cut.
And processing trauma, I think, is also what I'm thinking about. If an individual is processing some trauma, there's a process to. Some people have had some very bad. things
Not during
happen.
meditation.
Yeah, well, outside of meditation.
Yeah, during the day.
Yeah.
Like that's.
During the day,
Yeah.
Yeah,
come back to washing your dishes.
Yeah.
Go mow your lawn. Go take the dog for a walk. Do whatever you need to do. If it keeps coming back, it keeps coming back. But if you keep bringing your mind back to the present moment, at some point that will lessen. At some point, you will feel differently about that than you do right now, where you're totally affected by it, where you're totally in pain about it, where you feel traumatized. The only way, because the more you keep thinking about it, the more life you breathe into it. The more you think about it, you need to move on. This is a fresh moment. This is space. This is the space that we're all sharing. This is life. This is where things happen. If it's in the past and you keep bringing it in and bringing it in, you will never be able to get rid of it. It will always be there coming up for you all the time. And your reference points and your perceptions will all come from that point of view. You will never be healed. It's not that you're pushing it down and trying to forget it. You're coming back to the present moment. You're coming back to the now, right here, right now, where things can actually happen. This is the only place something can happen. If you're going to carry that with you into the present moment, you are coloring this space. You are changing your mind. You're dragging that in with you. And it's going to affect everything that you do. You will never be free of it. You must bring your attention back to the space, to the present moment, to what you're doing. Yes, sadness will always be there.
Yeah.
Your pain will, you'll always be able, when you think about it, the pain will be there. But thoughts are at the top of the ocean. Your essence, your basic nature is the energy you are. This is what you are. It doesn't need to be polluted by these thoughts that are up here, because they will dissolve with situations as they happen in your life. If you keep holding on to, well, I need to process this now. So now you're going to feed it more energy, more whatever, develop some kind of justification or whatever. You'll never be able to let go of it. You have to let go. You have to relate to the pain of it.
I think that's for me.
Sounds like fun.
But for me, the suppression part becomes trying to have this, I'm just cutting from the thought, and at some point, if I just allow myself to feel whatever I feel without going into a story, then it stops. But if I just keep trying to cut the thought, I can get into a point where I am. It's just sticking around, and I keep going back to dishes.
That was
acknowledgement.
That was the instruction for working with emotions for awakened energy. Those were the instructions, that whatever the feeling is, you go to the heart of the feeling, whatever that is, that's what it is. Right? But then you come back to what you're doing. So you're not trying to hide anything. You're not trying to, because if you do that, then you have other problems. It's like ignoring. Oh, I'm not going to relate to this. We're back to fear again. So it's opening to the pain, opening to the discomfort, to the irritation, and allowing yourself to feel it. Remember the Dalai Lama's words? Feel it, but don't become it. Experience it, witness it, let go of it. So, Lama, you want to say anything?
I think you did good. I think that was your answer. Yeah.
Right.
So in the framework of what you were just saying, you know, this is our practice, this is a path, there's complete tools. Working so well, and there may be a place for some other tools, like if you've got intense trauma or something like that, you may want to engage a coach or peer or whatever. That there's a spot for those, which is not to ignore that all this is going on, but maybe compartmentalize. I'm gonna go work on that. And I'm gonna do what I can, do whatever, appropriate degree, and then maybe it's starting to really have some engagement where it's releasing, and I'm not trying to hold it all in my sitting.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're not negating using other tools.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. Whatever works for you, fantastic. But at the same time, your meditation practice also, because, you know, counselors and people who are advisors who can say, okay, do this, think about this, or whatever works. But the ultimate thing is in your meditation, come back to the breath, come back to the space. Come back to where you don't be afraid of anything. Allow it to come in, feel it, experience it, but don't hold on to it. You know, so
Thank you.
yes.
We're not talking exactly about, but when I'm not practicing, not sitting, that is, I've heard the advice of if you have fear, for instance, you lean into it a bit, which in a way sounds like extending a feeling. But that's not what you're talking about.
No, leaning into it, that's also sometimes, many times used in a Buddhist saying, you should, you know, lean in, don't run away from it.
Right,
Like,
right.
lean into it. You know, I think it's the same advice, to be perfectly honest with you, because you are experiencing it. You're not running away from it. You're leaning into it. So you're experiencing it.
Well, thank you for that. That kind of proves that.
The Buddha said to know suffering in all of its different forms. So we have to investigate it. We have to know it.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
The Buddha said to know suffering. So the first noble truth is that there is suffering. And he said we must know suffering. So to observe that, to see its origin, to see its emptiness as well, to know suffering.
Right, thank you.
Although I don't know how you can live the human life and not experience suffering.
No, you will definitely experience suffering. There's no doubt about it. But to know suffering.
This is the realm of.
Yeah. We all experience it, but we experience it very differently. And so I would take his advice, no suffering.
Okay. Oh, I just wanted to do an anecdote, so if you had like an actual question, that's okay. Yeah.
Dennis, question about getting angry at somebody, or we're gonna go to New York again.
No, there's something called Vajra anger. Vajra anger is a situation where through your compassion and your wisdom, you see something that is happening and anger arises. And then there's action from that. And that's supposedly okay. Now, examples of that, I don't know if I know many. I know that Trungpa Rinpoche once told me that if you can stay, the reason that you get to anger is because you're painful, you're hurt by what you're experiencing or what you see. It first starts with pain. You hurt for what you see happening. And if you can just stay with that pain, if you can just stay with that hurt, then it won't go to anger or jealousy or whatever. But there is Vajra anger, like where if you see it's like a child being misused or, abused in some way or something, but it's not like something, and you feel that, your first impulse would be to save the child, to go in and do that. Can you talk about Vajra anger? Lama, you want to say something about Vajra anger?
Well, as you say, I mean, this is the appropriate application of anger. We look at our protectors who are aspects of Chenrezi, and they protect us with an angry kind of appearance, wrathful. And so sometimes it requires that, but it's not, it's more the appearance of anger than you're not angry, you're not wanting to cause harm. But sometimes the attitude of this kind of aggression, or to wake somebody up from wrongdoing, is saving them from the karmic predispositions or the karmic consequences of that anger when it manifests.
Something like middle path anger, the emotional middle path. What you really have was when you have a desire for something, or resistance, you're gonna create the other side by definition. You're gonna create its opposite. It's gonna be hidden from you. Don't be worried. Is that right?
I don't know about that. So what's the opposite that you're creating?
If you have, say, really like coffee, it's good to wake you up in the morning, but it's expensive and it's messy and it keeps you awake at night. Both exist. We're gonna choose the ones, whatever side we prefer, right? But the other one still exists.
But you have a choice.
I said both of them, especially persistent things, that maybe you can entirely transparent to you. The other side of that, the resistance side of that. More questions and comment, or it sounds like that kind of anger, the Vajra anger doesn't have an opposite to it. It's done, it's done.
It's out of compassion. It's out of loving kindness. So
Another-
that is the driving force,
Yes.
bodhicitta.
You couldn't be angry like in some sorrow without having some guilt associated with it.
Some
think
can
this-
be angry without guilt. Unfortunately.
I think the main differentiation is if the anger is coming from self, from ego, or is the anger coming from compassion? I think that might be the main difference.
And you're not hurting the person, you're not physically harming them necessarily, although the Buddha took out a boat full of people before he became Buddha to save, this particular person from perpetrating violent crimes and killing everybody on the boat. But there is a karma that goes with that nonetheless, but that's really not what we're talking about. That's a whole nother situation. But it's always out of bodhicitta. This anger. So I mean, you might yell at your child before he steps in front of the truck. You want to get the attention, so you're going to be as whatever works in that regard. And sometimes it can be apparently harsh. But your motivation, it's always your motivation, is bodhicitta, loving kindness and compassion.
Does the person who's capable of Vajra anger think to themselves, I'm a person who's capable of Vajra anger?
Oh, that's very suspicious.
Yeah.
No, the minute that comes up, you know right away where it's coming from.
It's the natural response to the situation. Yeah, it is just out of, again, your motivation of compassion.
So that'd be a source of duality. Could be the source of duality, no question. If you have a desire for something, that's how you can do that by having the side.
We have to look at desire. Yeah,
You think of like our Dharma protectors, like Mahakama.
Exactly.
is
It's
the
like that.
emanation of, it's compassionate emanation.
Yeah.
Right?
that's right.
Of Chenrezi or Palden Lama, who, killed her son to protect the Dharma. And was looking at the bigger picture of Buddhism and what was important. So when it arises from that really compassionate place
Was it, that was Krishna's,
without attachment to anything.
this is Krishna's advice to Arjuna. Get ready for the battle,
Mhm.
it's his family, you know. But he says, quit your whining, go ahead and do it. Okay, so.
Did you get your answer? Okay. That it? Okay. Unless maybe we do dedicate the merit.
All right, are we finished then? Let's
done?
go ahead. We can put the dedication up.
Okay.
Through the blessing of the Buddha's attainment of the three bodies, and through the blessing of the unchanging truth of Dharmata, and through the blessing of the unwavering aspiration of the Sangha, may this dedication prayer be accomplished. The courageous Manjushri, who knows everything as it is, Samantabhadra, who also knows in the same way, and all the bodhisattvas that I may follow in their path, I completely dedicate all this virtue. Karmapa, who is the activity of all Buddhas, victorious over the four Maras, may his teachings, this heart of the Dharma, continuously spread to the far limit of all directions, greatly increase and auspiciously ever.